Alrighty, everybody. Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live. What a weekend. What a weekend. I can't take I'm not even taking Memorial Day off, you know? Like, I had to come back. The Order of Romeo, Biddy for your thoughts. Can we get a bended knee for Biddy for your thoughts for 60 months at tier 3? Lies, where's the sorry guys, I didn't want to do a sussy for today. It's a little bit too serious of topics to be a sussy for. Maybe when we have a little bit of a slower news day, I'll do the sussy, but I'm not gonna do the sussy today. Sorry. You know, the thing is, listen, VO is my refuge where I get to be silly and I get to be lame and I get to be a gremlin, you know? That's not the same thing as this channel, right? And it's something that I think that, you know, VO is always pushing me to be more whimsical, but it's not always appropriate. You know, you need to have different sides of yourself, you know? So that's good, but sometimes it's not the right call. So this weekend was really a moment of Mike was right again, you know? I had a post. I think I may have even deleted it because I felt like it was I think I did delete it, but I had a post on my Twitter where I said the Democrats are going to work with the fascists to go after the left, you know, and they're going to say they have to do it. And here's the thing. It's actually not really happening. On Twitter, there is a class of liberal grifters, really, who see Hassan as stealing their place within the Democratic Party. They're narcissists, they're Zionists, they're scum, and they look at Hassan and they feel entitled to what he has. And they have the Epsteins of the world, really. But Epstein is not unique. This is something you need to understand about Destiny. He is not a unique personality. In fact, he's all too common. In Hollywood, they had Harvey Weinstein. In news, they've had, you know, what's his name? The guy who founded Fox News. It's slipping my mind. Not the Murdochs, but the guy who actually ran it. Sheldon, no, what the fuck is his name? Ailes, Roger Ailes. Thank you, Chatter. Like, these people are incredibly common, you know? Adam Panada is very, I mean, he has the same kind of personality as Destiny, right? Like, these people are actually not rare at all. They're depressingly common. And in fact, they are the primary impediment that we as a species have from advancing to the next stage of human development. You know, at least, I would say at least 80 to 90% of people would very easily live in the kind of collective society we're trying to build, right? And unfortunately, if you study, and it's cringe to say, but if you study game theory like Eric Garland says, but no, in all seriousness, if you study different types of iterative game theory, one of the things you understand is how altruism and solidarity are an effective strategy that evolve naturally. But whenever you have a population of people that are cooperating, there is always a space for a covert narcissist, right? There is, you know, if you can successfully keep yourself covert and keep your betrayals secret, that kind of strategy within an in-group is a very effective individual strategy, right? So society is about sniffing out those covert narcissists and cracking them on the top of the head, right? To contribute to, you know, because there's about, like, I would say there's about 35% of people that could go either way, that are influenceable. Half of people are pretty ready to just live in peace and, you know, in a collective with others. They will go along to get along, right? 35% of people are influenceable. They'll either act in a pro-social way or an anti-social way, depending upon the conditions they're in. And then there are that 5 to 10% of people, 1 to 5% is how I phrase it, who are intensely broken. And that's just common enough to be a problem, right? In a classroom with 20 people, that's one kid, right? And in America, the classrooms are 40 people, so that's 2 of the kids. And those 2 kids can cause a lot of damage to the rest of the 38. So figuring out which one of the group is acting in that way is and disciplining them and making their incentives for betrayal negative is what society calls for, right? It is, we have to make it so that you don't profit from being a scumbag. You know, like that is our mission. Obviously, we help one another, we raise each other up, but we can't allow people to profit from being scumbags. Like, this is the most cursed example of what you're talking about. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Fox News did a post about, hold on. God, there's so many Hassan videos. Fed subpoena Hassan Piker, Medea Benjamin over Cuba trips. Now, neither one of them have said they've received such a subpoena. So Fox News is going forward with this story based on, I guess, sources that know more about the inner workings of the federal government than the victims of these targets. Now, when I look, oh, by the way, chat, we have a hype train. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. We are currently at 6280 on the subcast. Nice. Pretty nice. If a subpoena is never delivered, does that open up Fox for legal issues? I mean, they were just wrong about a fact, so I guess you could sue them for defamation, maybe? It would be hard to, you know, I think that's probably unlikely to work. Investigation part of broader dragnet involving as many as 40 American citizens who joined Marxist convoy to Havana. Now, I believe that when Iran, if it ever signs a deal with the United States and reopens the Strait of Hormuz, I believe that the United States of America will immediately attack Cuba. I believe this based on information that I've heard from sources of my own in Florida who have the necessary expertise. This is original reporting from Mike from PA. You're going to just have to believe me. These are my sources. Sources of mine that I consider to be the most credible possible source you could have with their level of expertise on this matter, say that they believe an attack on Cuba is imminent. Sure, dude. Well, you're gonna have to decide whether you trust me or not. This lady is a freak, man. The lady who wrote this article, Asra Q Nomani, I think is she the one who was posting weird shit on Twitter? The woke army, the red green alliance that is destroying America's freedom. She was a Georgetown professor. Democratic socialists use the rose in their graphics, branding protest signs as a symbol of their ideological belief. What is their ideological belief? Let me break it down. Hassan Piker is one of the most prominent members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They claim to believe in democratic socialism, though Piker calls himself a Marxist, and they have a Marxist wing. A DSA political candidate, Oliver Larkin, expresses support for Hassan Piker and Medea Benjamin in the face of subpoenas from the Treasury Department for their March trip to Cuba and possible violation of sanctions against the communist regime in Cuba. Hey guys, remember how Bad Empanada said that this trip was pointless and how safe it was? You guys remember that? You guys remember how he spent his time attacking all the organizations that were doing the Cuba flotilla? Hassan is org agnostic. Yeah. I think that's a mistake, but whatever. It's okay. He said it was a vanity project, right? And there was no risk. Now, and he showed up in Cuba, right? To try to stalk Hassan and be weird. Remember that? I personally believe Bad Empanada is a Fed. I personally believe Bad Empanada is a federal agent of the United States of America. I think that he works for some sort of intelligence group. The reason why I say that is he's completely pivoted from his old views. His old views used to be actually remarkably similar to mine and Hassan's. And, you know, he suddenly pivoted to a completely insane, like, JD Pondon, third worldist, J-Pon, you know, the joint dictatorship of the third world proletariat, or whatever the fuck the, whatever the third worldist position is. And he used to be pro-Bernie. He used to be, he used to attack me and JDF for being anti-Semitic. You guys remember I used to watch when JDF was really blowing up? He started saying that JDF was anti-Semitic. Mike, why does it BE come after you? Oh, he does. He does. He is in everybody's DMs about me. How do I know? They tell me. Did I say GFD? No, it's GDF. No, he does. He does do that. And, you know, just to talk about BE for 1 second, GDF made a video about the Israel lobby, which is by John Mearsheimer and Stephen M. Walt. Mearsheimer was a political science professor at the University of Chicago And Stephen M. Walt was a political science professor at Harvard. Okay, just so you understand who these guys are. All right, pretty standard, mainstream, well-credentialed American political scientists. And they wrote a book called The Israel Lobby, which explained how Israel uses its state apparatus and alliance with American Zionists in order to influence American politics for the benefit of Israel in such a way that it's actually against the imperial interest of the U.S., meaning that Israel has more, Israel is an American outpost, right? We took up the stewardship of Israel from Britain, but Israel is actually influencing American politics so that we take decisions that are actually detrimental to the American empire in favor of Israel's interests. And they do that through the mechanism of the Israel Lobby, right? And that's what the book is about. Now, some doctrinaire Marxists and leftists will say that is wrong, right? And they say that's wrong because they don't know any of the facts. They are basically people that are theoretically examining the surface of American and Israeli relations. They see a materialist link and the use that Israel might have for the empire, and then they end their analysis. They don't actually analyze the mechanisms of the relationship. They don't actually analyze the decisions that are made. They actually just kind of wave a wand and then they stop thinking. So that's what Baden Panada used to do. And in fact, he called us all anti-Semitic, and he tried to use, and his evidence, by the way, was YouTube comments that were made. Not anything GDF said, but YouTube comments someone else made because GDF didn't heavily moderate his YouTube comments, right? I mean, that's a little lazy, but I gotta be honest, I'm not the biggest YouTube comment reader myself. Like, I read them once in a while, a few times a week, but I'm not going through there and like filtering all my YouTube comments all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather do literally anything else than that, right? So GDF has some unmoderated comments with sussy shit, and that's supposed to be evidence of GDF being an anti-Semite. Let's go ahead and watch Mr. Anti-Semitism Inspector BE.
Normies, it's the 1%, it's the Illuminati, it's the Freemasons. Me taps the sign. Obviously he's saying it's the Jews. GDF is he actively attempts to cater to like these sorts of people, like be in the middle with like just the right level of plausible deniability where it can be like, well, I'm not actually saying it's the Jews, I'm saying it's Israel. I can't control who the people who comment on my videos are. I can't control who the audience is. Anyone can watch them, because he started getting views from that crowd, and now he just clearly cannot stop. When your income depends on it, it takes courage to actually stop catering to a bunch of fucking anti-Semites, I guess. Like I just every time it's worse. Bob, what the hell is wrong with these Jews? How do you get comments like this for like 8-9 months straight, dozens every day at least, and you don't say, oy shut it down? Like, it's the same shit on every video. Okay, I've gone over enough. If you get comments like these on your videos, you're not like, okay, I need to delete these or make it clear what my videos mean or what I mean. You're just playing into it after a certain point. Nobody challenges anyone on anything. Nobody challenges anyone on anything unless they're people who, that they're opposed to anyway. Because YouTube is made up of a bunch of pussies who care more about maintaining like friendship networks than anything else. Who care more about like the audience crossover potential than anything else. Not really friendship networks. It's the audience crossover potential. You denounce another YouTuber for doing something bad, automatically you are lowering your potential audience, or the potential that they like shout you out or whatever, stuff like that. So automatically there's like a filter that causes where people are discouraged from feuding with the people who are marginally on their side. He's making a video about Israeli aggression? No, he's not. He's making videos about fucking conspiracy theories about how the USA is a victim of Israel, controlled by the shady, like, Israeli, definitely not Jewish, wink, wink, Cabo. Give me a break.
So, in other words, GDF had an analysis about the influence of Israel. By the way, this isn't a cabal. This is the Israeli state. They have intelligence services. They are actively engaged in what you would call conspiracies. I would call policy. right? It's the policy of the Israeli government to get as much support as they can from other states. And they do that by using their agents and their influence in order to get as much support as possible. That's not a conspiracy. That's policy of a state, you fucking idiot. Okay, like it's not that complicated. And here he is discrediting non-racist scholarship on what actually occurs. And there is no analysis here. He's just trying to call another YouTuber an anti-Semite because he's tired of GDF getting views on his videos, right? And then he tried, you know, it's an accusation in the mirror, right? He's saying like, oh, poor me, I'm not allowed to criticize other people. And by the way, there's some truth to that. I just want you to be, I am very hated by a lot of people because I criticize them for being dumb. I especially don't like the way that people grift off of AOC because they don't actually do any analysis. They just ride the fucking vibe, oh, AOC's bad vibe, in order to grow their channels. And I think that's fucking gross and very counterproductive to our politics in this moment. I have no problem with substantively critiquing her. I do it myself, but these people don't do that. They just wave a fucking wand. They judge her differently than every other fucking politician, and there's no good explanation for it other than it's YouTube algorithmic and other algorithmically you know, rewarded. Same thing with Graham Plattner, right? You have a bunch of people that pretend that Graham Plattner is some like beyond the pale guy, and it's like, I'm sorry, but whenever I hear that people think that Graham Plattner is a beyond the pale guy, you know what I think? Upper middle class. That's what I think. I think upper middle class detected. That's what I think. Because regular ass people don't have the luxury belief of going, I didn't go in the military and I did my blah, 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 blah. Now, a lot of people there are some people that come from really poor backgrounds who are anti-military. I'm not saying you're invalid for having that position. I'm just saying that it is a luxury to be like, I judge all people who went into the military, upper middle class, PMC, COT. It's a luxury fucking belief because you don't understand how America is actually set up, which is if you are from the bottom, a lot of people understand that America is a social democracy if you are a veteran. America is the most generous social democracy in the world if you're a veteran. They get free college, they get subsidized housing loans, they get all sorts of, they can get disability payments, which are a universal basic income. America is the most generous social democracy if you are a veteran. So a lot of people are poverty drafted into the military. And there's so much military propaganda around us that there's like regular people like the military. Let me just show you this. Maybe that wasn't Gallup. Approval of jobs polling. Let me see if I can find this. I just want to show you guys on different jobs. Not presidential job. Why is the search so shit? I guess careers. Okay. Honesty and ethics in professions. Okay. Jesus. This isn't what I was looking for. Fuck! I'm going to get the evidence. Don't worry, chat. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. This doesn't like everything but the military. Why is search so fucking shit? I'm actually going to go into AI just to get a better search. No. There we go. Military veterans, 67% approve. That's not even officers. There used to be articles on exactly this thing. I'm struggling to find it now. Fuck me. I want to give you guys good evidence for my position. What would it be called? What would the polling be called? Most trusted professions. Okay, yes. Most trusted professions 2026. Okay. Oh, cops are down? Nice. Okay, this isn't the height of cops was 2001. All right, this sucks. I can't find it. Totally, dude, you just provided logistical support for baby killers behind a desk. You're totally off the hook and your feelings are spared. Honestly, I gotta say that again, Americans trying to distance, like Westerners trying to distance themselves from the military that is the funniest and most anti-Marxist position I've ever seen. And the reason why it is because you benefit from unequal exchange. That's the entire point of the military, is to set you up to benefit. So if you're an Australian or you're an American or whatever, try to be like, oh, I'm not personally, he's guilty, he served in the military, but I'm an innocent, morally upright person. Nah, you just had either the wherewithal or the political or social power to avoid having to do that job. You benefited the same. You are the same thing. Until our state, and the reason why I say that is because you have a moral duty to pour your energy into stopping our empire because you are just as morally compromised as somebody in the military. This is not a permission for you to be chill. Some of FD's, Noah's, and BE's worst takes is on this topic. I'm pretty sure that FD Signifier, you know, listen, I'm not going to characterize FD Signifier, but if I was from the South, if I lived in Georgia, I would think every white person was racist too. Like really racist, because that's true. You know, like Georgia's probably one of the most racist states in the country. That is probably one of the most racially polarized places in the world. So I get it. Like I'm not trying to say other white people are good or anything, or that I'm not, you know, I don't have any racist beliefs, or that I don't have white privilege. I read fucking White Fragility years when it came out. Okay, like you know, before it got made fun of by everybody. I literally have it. I had it on my fucking Audible. Okay, like I understand the theories that go along with the kind of liberal racial idpol, you know, stuff. I'm very, very well versed in it, okay? And the way FD Signifier was treated by Bad Panada is a racist. He's from Australia, okay? It's not like he's not from Argentina. He's not from the third world. He's a white man from Australia, okay? He knows what the fuck he's saying, okay? Anyway, somebody will find the trusted professions polling for me at some point, but because I can't find it. The search has gotten so bad. The only good opinion on Plattner is the truly enlightened take on Plattner is that he's an expression of socialism with American characteristics, and a lot of American characteristics entail absurd levels of evil. Of course they do. Of course they do. We are an empire. Just like the Russian Empire, just like the Chinese Empire was. When they had their revolutions, when they had their leaders, they were fucking evil bastards who changed their positions. That's just how it works. Revolutions are made by men and women and thembies that actually live, not angels. And if somebody not being a good person is going to stop you from being a leftist, then you should stop now, because I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot of bad people that become leftists. That's just how life works. Oh my God, thank you so much, Jules. Jesus Christ. Military officers. Please tell me how you would rate the honesty and ethical standards of people in these different fields. Military officers, 59 high, very high, 28 average, and only 9% low. You know what's considered negative? Newspaper reporters. Agree! I agree! So if you like journalists, but you hate military officers, you're very weird to an American. I would say fuck all these professions, if I'm being honest. The only ones that would be up there would be nurses, daycare providers, and that's about it. Give me those daycare providers and those nurses. Everybody else, oh, and there's other teachers in here. I didn't see the teachers, which is weird. You would think they would be polling. Why are they not polling teachers? Did I miss it? I don't see it. Weird. Oh, it's number 2? Oh, grade school. Oh, of course. What the fuck? That's why I didn't see it. Grade school teachers. Of course. Of course. That's why I was like looking for teachers and it's grade school. Okay. God. All right. Yeah, of course. How is he not a supportive collaborator for feeling giddy about government going after Assad? Oh, Zubair. I was building up to that. I have a rhetorical style where I want to tell you one of the tricks of my trade. This will help you go. I like to start with my second best argument, right? You have your introduction, you have your thesis, and then I do my second best argument. And then I proceed down, blah, 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 blah. You know, then I proceed down in the rank order of how strong I think things are. And then because I'm trying to do this thing where I build up to a crescendo where I'm assuming that I'm being critically watched, right? Or critically read. And then, right as I can hear the kind of objections forming in my viewer's mind or the reader's mind about how the evidence is strong and your argument is compelling, but I'm not sure I believe. That's when I drop the hammer. And the hammer in this one is Bad Panada literally said he offered himself to help testify against Hasan Piker to the Trump administration, against Hasan. And the reason why it's very important that you understand that these people are scum is because Bad Panada has been embarrassed. He thought he could affect Hasan Piker with his, he's such a narcissist that he has delusions of grandeur, right? Yes, and so he thought just by going after me and Hasan that it would affect us, and it hasn't affected us in any way. The Patreon episode was gas, by the way. Thank you guys. We have a awesome new reaction podcast that we're gonna talk about. But that's the reality. Let me see if I can find it. Fuck. Somebody's gonna have to link it to me because I was posting about a bunch of different shit, making fun of people and making fun of Stephen Bennell. Here's him and Destiny aligning. Oh, thank you so much. I did retweet this. DGG cult leader and CSAM consumer, the omni-liberal, and left com bad. He's not a left com. He's not even a communist, bro. You're giving him too much credit. And left com Bada Banana have found common ground, aligning themselves with the fascist Trump regime and going after Hassan. They hate Hassan more than they hate fascism. These are enemies of the people. I am completely at the disposal of the Trump administration if any more information on Marxist communist Hassan Piker is needed. Reminder that red shirts and brown shirts going at it is actually super beneficial for libs and democracy, and it could be the stupidest thing in the universe for libs to intervene. Okay, couple things here. Obviously these guys are disgusting losers, and you know, they're fucking scum, and you know, obviously, you know, do I need to even say it? You know, if I was at a diner and I glanced up, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing more that needs to be said, right? Keepo smiles in the chat. I am completely at the disposal of the Trump administration if any more information on Marxist communist Hassan Piker is needed. So, like, I don't care what you say about this statement. This is not a joke. This is not a you know, making light of it. This is Bada Banana went to Cuba to try to harass and confront Hassan. And he spent his time discrediting the Cuba convoy. Now the groups and the people that were part of the convoy are being targeted. We spoke to a member of the Cuban embassy in America about the convoy, and the Cuban government was very supportive of the convoy. So who the fuck is Bada Banana? And the answer is he is a federal agent, or at least he wishes he was. I can't at this point, I don't have a distinction. The distinction is meaningless to me. Wait, why did he do that with the convoy? I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to go back through his dumb videos. I don't give a shit. Right? And whether or not he is actually an agent or he just behaves like a free agent of the federal government, that's what he is. Okay? So, Bada Banana's scum. And he has been scum for a long time. I've never liked calling these people ultras or left comms. Like it or not, historically, those factions had concrete alternative vision for how to organize society. These people just hate everyone and do nothing but post. Okay, I'm going to say something really controversial, but none of you have, you know, very few people actually read history, so none of you are going to know that it's controversial. Ultras have always been useless. They've always been useless. They have dogmatic beliefs. They don't like to address themselves to reality. And every single movement and revolution we've ever had, they were a major stumbling block. They've caused revolutions to actually fail to reaction because they spent more time interfering and disrupting decision making than actually doing anything of value. I'm sorry, but it's every revolution has to have a stage where they stop the revolution and kind of like clean up the revolution out of these types of people in order for it to function. It's just, it happens every fucking time. Including, I want to tell you, the Spanish Civil War was lost because of people like Bada Banana, unironically. And they led to a 30-year fascist dictatorship. So, like, I don't know what to say. Like, you have to, and the Russians and the Chinese had to have a period where they were like, okay, these people are like fucking this up. Some of the ultras in China, they literally said poverty is good. When like their policies didn't work and people were like starving and shit, the ultras were like, poverty is good. Like they will never, ever, ever change their ways. Like they're in a closed bubble. They're like, poverty is awesome, as people were starving. So like, no, they're fucking useless. Okay, they're fucking useless. So whether he's a federal agent or he's an ultra, they're useless. Now Destiny says, reminder that red shirts and brown shirts going at it is actually super beneficial for libs and democracy. It would be the stupidest thing in the universe for libs to intervene. Okay, Destiny is a dropout. Now I don't say that to insult you if you didn't graduate college, right? Because you can become an educated person. Right? You can become what we call an autodidact, which means a self-taught, right? That's actually a lot of really intelligent people come from unconventional kinds of ways of learning, all right? Destiny is not one of those people. Destiny is a dropout. Destiny is incurious. Destiny is stupid. He's just probably one of the most virulent narcissists I've ever seen, who's completely consumed with delusions of grandeur, okay? And so he has been incentivized just by being the loudest, most confident dipshit in the room. Because most people, when they were raised, they were told, don't speak, you know, how confident you are should reflect how certain you are, right? You shouldn't just say shit if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And in my household, if I acted confident about something that I was wrong about, it was treated like a lie. Like if I was like, yeah, blah, 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 and then it turned out not to be reliable, my parents treated that like a lie. To them, being reliable is just as important as being honest, okay? You should have the same fucking philosophy. Your word should be good, all right? So, and if you're raised right, a lot of us, you know, we're raised correctly in that sense. Or we've learned that through our times, you know, as adults, where it's like, if I'm confident, I'm very confident in my information. Like, I understand what is correct. Were your parents politically minded, Mike? Of course. He is a loser with no actual idea how to organize the international working class. The piss baby won't even go back to his own racist colonizer state to make a difference in their politics. Such a loser nobody. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay? So I say this about Destiny because he is profoundly stupid. He's a virulent type of stupid, right? In fact, he's the most dangerous type of stupid, because stupid where a person is like, you know, obviously poorly spoken and not confident, and, you know, that stuff's easy to detect, right? But Destiny presents himself as if he knows what the fuck he's talking about, right? But I want you to understand something. This is one of the most profoundly wrong things that's ever happened, ever been uttered. This isn't just stupid on its face. It may be the most historically illiterate statement I've ever seen in my life. You are a fucking moron. I'm going to explain why you're a moron. Why do radical politics succeed? Radical politics succeed when the masses of people are not able to thrive. That's where revolutions and rebellions come from, right? Where people cannot go about their daily lives. They cannot thrive. They can't have children. They can't, you know, they can't find food. They can't find shelter. They can't find income. They have no ability to live their life, right? That's when revolutions and radical politics succeed. It's when the system fails. Like, this is a materialist analysis, but I think if you think back in history, that's always been true, right? Now, when does liberalism fail? Liberalism has often failed in history when the markets fail and when civil conditions deteriorate. What do I mean by that? I mean, you can't go out on the street and buy yourself a meal, and violence on the streets between the black shirts and the reds leads people to polarize. It creates what I call a Schmittian epoch. This is my own, by the way, this is my own word that no one else uses. If you hear anybody else say it's a Schmittian epoch, that's literally mine. I made that up, okay? That's me. I made that up. That phrase is my phrase, just so you know. So what do I mean by that? Well, fascist philosopher Carl Schmitt talked about the friend-enemy distinction. I've been talking about it a lot lately because I'm trying to get it into people's brains. And in a fascist epoch, everything is highly polarized. You have to pick a side. Either you are on the side of the fascists or you are on the side of the resistors to fascism. There is no center, because people in the center are neither friends nor enemies. So if they're not your friend, then they have to be an enemy. And if they're not your enemy, then they have to be a friend. That is the nature of polarizing politics. That's why Trump is succeeding and the far right is succeeding in so many places, is because the status quo is failing. The masses cannot thrive, or more accurately, they don't perceive themselves to be thriving. And so the center cannot hold. And so the question is, what reforms will we take to restore the feeling that the masses can thrive? Will we attempt to achieve a status quo ante, stripping away progress that has been made in the last 50 years, reasserting racial theories that died out with the end of Jim Crow and World War II? Why do you touch your nose? Oh, it's just what we call a stim. You know, sometimes different people have different things they do. Some people twirl their mustache. Some people rub their chin. I tend to do this fucking face wash thing. It is what it is. Anyway, what was I going to say? Is that a white people thing? Yeah, it's so true. It is. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. And so, in this Schmittian epoch, if the Reds and the Browns are fighting on the street, liberalism is so discredited it's not even funny, because that's the status quo, right? Liberalism is discredited because it cannot maintain social order. Liberalism is discredited because people cannot thrive. So people are going to have to pick a side. The current rabid Twitter ultras are a collection of mostly Western leftists from outside the United States like Bad Empanada and Cavernacle, people living in other Western states with worse free speech laws. These people have made their praxis whining about U.S. leftists trying to get politicians in power that would actually vote against military expansion and weapons to Israel. And these people think that sabotaging us is the noble choice because we aren't anti-imperialist enough. The answer is actually the United States is not allowed to pay American leftists to sabotage the left. That's actually not allowed. Some of the few laws that remain on the books from the 70s is that the U.S. state is not allowed to fund American leftists who discredit the movement, right? That's actually not allowed. So, but they can fund them from abroad. They can fund agents abroad. They can fund wreckers from abroad. That is legal. And they actually have spent over $1 billion. They've just started doing it. The anti-China express funding law. Yeah, here we go. The 1.6 billion anti-China propaganda overseas. Information ops. This is roughly about when Bad Empanada started to go become kind of focused on attacking GDF, myself, Hassan, etc. Non-American leftists want America to be destroyed and American people to be punished. It makes sense to feel that way, but Americans want to fix their country rather than destroy it. That's a fundamental difference. There's no way to see eye to eye on that. Also, they're wrong. I want you to understand something. If the American left fails, it's not going to make America fail. I want you guys to understand that. Like, just as in Germany, the German left getting crushed did not make Germany fail. What made Germany fail was a world war. Okay? That's not us failing. You know, me, Hassan, and all the DSA members all being arrested and executed in mass graves will not make America fail. Donald Trump becoming president for life will not make America fail. On the contrary, it will make America more belligerent and expansionist. If the American left fails, Canada goes bye-bye. Mexico gets invaded or bombed and otherwise subjugated. Cuba's invaded. Israel probably expands its territory by 2x. Like, that's what will actually happen. Now, I think eventually it will fail and it'll be a disaster for the world. There'll probably be some sort of world war between China and the U.S. And the U.S. will probably lose. But that's, you know, and then the United States losing a war with China, there could definitely be a thermonuclear exchange. Now, I bring this up because I understand, because this is what I believe is likely should the American left not succeed. Okay? We are all in this teetering moment. This is probably the last time, like, I know it's a cliche to say, oh, this is the most important election or whatever. But this right now is it. Either anti-Trump, anti-fascist politicians are able to seize back the American state and do dramatic reforms to contain it, or else it's over. The best is for the USA to overstep. Incorrect. You are still operating on 1920s logic. It is 2026. The United States has the ability to erase life from this planet. And we've already demonstrated our willingness to use nuclear weapons. So that's just silly. And even if the United States were to collapse into some sort of like random fucking like group of balkanized states, we'll still have 2,000 nukes floating around. Do you think that's a good idea? Mike, it wouldn't be over. The state would have to start using extra electoral methods of containment of the state. Yeah, man. I know a lot of leftists, and none of them, like literally I can count on one hand the amount of leftists I know that I could jump into an infantry squad with, let alone exercising any kind of fucking revolution. Are you fucking serious? And I haven't practiced my infantry shit for fucking 20 years. But at least I know how to set up a fucking L-shaped ambush. Hey, we traded Hoi for, yeah. And I'm not even a special operator. I have like barely any military training, but at least I've got some sense of what a war is like. Meanwhile, these fucking guys think revolution is like a fucking pop-up on Hoi 4. You click OK, and then the flag color changes. The horsemen of late capitalism, deities of performative politics. Majority Report was never left and never pretended to be more than center-left social democrats. What's so funny is that that's so far from the reality that it's actually funny. It's actually funny because Michael Brooks and Jamie Peck were literally the mainstays of the show for years. Like, that's actually insanely stupid to the point where it's funny. I tried to watch TMR stream when Michael Brooks was co-hosting. He wasn't the most radical, but he was a third worldist that tried to educate his audience on global events occurring outside the Welsh Beltway. He was genuinely hilarious. Oh, okay, somebody actually does know what they're talking about. Earlier this year, I spoke with the NDFP, National Democratic Front of the Philippines, basically a political wing of the Communist Party, the Party of Philippines. Oh, Christ, American LARPers, dude. Holy shit, American LARPers. By the way, they are the start of a pipeline that ends with us. Radicalization is a process. That's the point. That's the point. Also, I don't agree with this either, by the way, just so you know. It's not totally a pipeline, right? The pipeline has to end not with you as putting yourself as the finished product. Jesus Christ, the arrogance of this post is actually critically hitting me. Okay, you are not a perfected human, you fucking dipshit. Jesus Christ. Unless you're Che Guevara, don't tell me you're a perfected fucking human. Jesus Christ. If you have watched the apocalyptic events of the last 70 years unfold, God, this is so pretentious, and you're still letting these people grift you, it's time to seriously reevaluate your philosophy as a Marxist. These lazy opportunist bastards represent everything Karl Marx despised. Oh, I can't wait to read this. They do not build class consciousness. They sell emotional comfort disguised as political discourse. They produce nothing of material value and lack the genuine charisma required to organize or move the masses. Even if that were true, it's absolutely not. I mean, Hassan Piker literally just helped smash the Philly machine. Also, like, I think one of the things that, God, how do I explain this? One of the problems that we have as a movement is the inability to be comradely, which is a sign that you are not an organizer of anything, because organizers do not engage in interpersonal polemic. For no fucking valid reason, right? If that's what you're trying to do, if you're trying to do interpersonal polemic, but you don't have your own group together, you ain't shit. Assad is objectively far more charismatic than anyone else you could name on the left, literally. That's just nonsense. When they actually bother to show up to real world events, they treat them like red carpets, taking selfies with fans like Hollywood stars, delivering a monologue and calling it a day. That's not even close to accurate. What the fuck are you saying? They literally organize the event. And yes, people take selfies because that's what happens in our day. That's how people document things. They would have taken selfies if the Russian Revolution, if such a thing existed. People would have documented what was going on around them if they had the technology. This is just a technological materialist development. That's like, what are you saying? This is nonsense. These influencers are the morbid symptoms of late stage capitalism. I honestly think this should be retired. I think the term late stage capitalism should be retired. And the reason why I say that is because it inculcates apathy and listlessness in people that use it. It calls on the idea that the contradictions of capitalism are just about to resolve themselves through some sort of systemic collapse, which encourages people to sit on their fat fucking ass and wait. They exploit human tragedy and collective anxiety for engagement metrics, turning political grifting after failed career in entertainment or spending years accumulating credentials in elite universities in a useless field. I mean, like, I would say that I think this guy is maybe one of the dumbest posters I've ever read. And it strikes me as like a total lack of historical knowledge. You have always needed, like, in the day, in Marx's day, in Lenin's day, they wrote newspapers. Do you think Lenin would not have streamed if streaming was available? He would have fucking streamed. He wrote a newspaper because that was the way to communicate. He used the most advanced technology of the day to communicate. If he could have had a radio program, he would have had a radio program. He used what was available. And that's why, by the way, communists were happy to use film. When film was a brand new technology, communists were making films. There is this kind of, like, I would call it nostalgia for something that you never experienced. What's the term for that? Is there a word for that? We need to develop that word. Nostalgia for something you never experienced. Is it anomia? That is what so many people are actually. Anomia is a neologism that describes a strange sense. Oh my God, this is exactly what I want. Oh my God, this is so, Jesus Christ. Holy fucking Christ. This is exactly what these people are experiencing. They look at Marx and Lenin, and because they wrote pamphlets or the movies are in black and white, they think that that is like the perfected way to do revolution. We need to stop streaming and we need to start passing pamphlets out on the street corner or whatever the fuck, as opposed to recognizing that there is a new technology and that's where the masses are, so we should use it. It's absolutely fucking, that's what I'm doing, Carter. Nice. It's silly. They offer nothing meaningful to the working class. When it comes down to actual societal value, a plumber does more to keep the world running than these intellectual grifters ever will. Now, stop giving them money and attention. Okay, here's what I will say. I gotta be honest with you. I think this person might be one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. You are in the Deprogram podcast subreddit, which is literally made up of YouTubers and a podcast they created. You are in a 45,000 member subreddit because of YouTubers and podcasters. The societal and organizational value of these types of content is readily apparent. You are doing social signaling, you fucking loser. One of the co-creators of this group is a streamer, Yagopnik. He streams. What are you saying? It's nonsensical. You can see the value of it in the fact that you're posting in this subreddit and not writing a pamphlet somewhere. It spreads ideas. It attracts and organizes groups. And then from these, now, in the raw form, is a subscriber or a subreddit member or Patreon enough for a revolution? No. But you are the purest separated wheat from the chaff. You are the people that are highly motivated and very likely to be radicalized toward political action. That is what I'm doing here. I'm supporting myself. Hot. This is capitalism. I need money. I want to have a nice life. Hot. But I pour thousands and thousands of my own dollars into candidates. I've given literally tens of thousands of dollars to Gaza. I have taken a lot of this money and supported socialist organizations, socialist candidates, and Gaza humanitarian aid. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars supporting these things with the money I've made. And I have my disagreements with everyone on this screen. I do. I'm to the left of everybody on this screen. That is true. But I am glad that they exist. I'm glad they exist because you could see the difference in American politics. Now the majority of people that are Democrats now say they identify more with socialism than they do capitalism. You think that happened because of your 397 updoot subreddit post, you fucking dumbass? This guy's got to be a Bad Empanada fan. Oh, they keep their stuff hidden. Is this actually Bad Empanada alt? 10-month-old? This reads like Bad Empanada posting. The best litmus test against prohibitive politics is ask their opinion about China. Hassan is pro-China. TMR is very much pro-China. Kyle has become more pro-China. None of these people are China hawks. Not really hard to have positive opinions about China. Oh, it's not really hard, guys. Ask about organizing outside the Democratic Party sphere, DSA included, and voting for real socialists, and they will lose. Oh, now we're voting now? I think one of the things that's really funny about this is it's like, I would happily vote for a socialist outside of the Democratic Party. In fact, I have done so before. The difference is they win the election. You know, part of my electoral political work is a judgment of the odds of victory. Now, there is a theory among certain people where you should not care about winning. You should use your electoral campaign as a soapbox. You shouldn't run to win. You should run to speak. And I got to tell you something. The system is designed for that. If you're not going to win, the media does not cover you. Your campaign gets ignored. Nobody fucking cares. You are called what's known as a perennial candidate. Look for that term in the newspaper. It's a signal somebody is a fucking loser. That's a polite way for a journalist to signal to the audience that the person doesn't matter. They call them a perennial candidate. A perennial candidate is a term for a political candidate who frequently runs for elected office and rarely, if ever, wins. Mike the Mover has run for various offices under various political affiliations on 17 occasions to promote his furniture moving business. And notice who these people are. Jorge Altamira, leader of the Trotskyist Workers' Party, has run for president 5 times. Nicholas Del Cano, leader of the Social Workers' Party, has run for political positions 5 times. Best performance was 2019 with 2% of the votes. Cool, guys. Really cool. Let's go to the United States. List of perennial candidates in the United States. So they're telling you we should take our socialist movement and turn it into this. We should turn it into Alan Keyes. We should just run and lose. Now, I don't agree with that. I think we should run to win. I think we should run to win. And the thing is, if you can win, then the masses have to take your ideas seriously. Now the media has to cover you. Now your ideas have to become part of the Overton window, because your winning forces the capitalists to acknowledge you, because you could take state power and they have to contain you, because you have the ability to make decisions and change policies that could work against their interests. So they have to care. So this idea of like, oh no, you shouldn't run in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party doesn't mean anything. I like, this is how I know these people are unserious. It is a meaningless designation. It doesn't require you to pay any money or do anything or hold any position. It's just a spot on the ballot. At the most, it's a brand name. I'll give you an I'll try to make a different example so people understand. I've been kind of making this argument a lot because I want you guys to really let it sink in. Let's imagine that you had a soda that you wanted to sell, and you were able to put your soda into Pepsi bottles. Do you think you would sell more of your soda or less of your soda? Just think about that. Now, you may think Pepsi sucks. I don't particularly like Pepsi. But if your soda's inside Pepsi bottles, a lot of people are just going to pick that off the shelf unthinkingly and throw it in their cart. That's why people run as a Democrat, because of that. Because there are literally millions of people that just vote for any Democrat. So you automatically win those votes. But those people are not requiring you to do anything. And the reason why American leftists often run in the Democratic Party, even though I believe that I want the Democratic Party to die and a new party to rise up. Just like it's happening in the UK. I want the Labour Party to die and the eco-populist Green Party to win, right? But there is something that is unsaid when I say that. The Democratic Party dies. Why would the Democratic Party die? Well, the Democratic Party dies because America has an electoral college. America has an electoral college. And in the electoral college, if one of the candidates does not receive a majority of the electoral votes, the House of Representatives picks the president. And not in a 435 rep vote. Every state delegation gets folded into one vote. And the person who wins the majority of states becomes president. I don't know if you guys know this, but the Republican Party controls a lot of little states, so they win the election. So we are forced to do pre-electoral coalitions. We have to do pre-electoral coalitions in order to take the presidential seat. So if the Democratic Party died, a lot of the pre-electoral coalition of the Democratic Party would be forced into whatever Workers' Party, Labor Party, Socialist Party, whatever the fuck, Green Party, whatever the party would be called. It would just have a different faction in charge. I want to have a party with the left faction in charge. That's basically what I'm arguing for. Because if we don't do that and no party gets 270 electoral votes, then the election is won by the right automatically. That's why we have a two-party system, because we're forced to by the structure of the system. Now, I want to change the structure of the system, but there is only two ways to change the structure of the system. A widespread revolution that throws out the Constitution completely and starts from scratch, or we seize power in the system and reform it and change it using the procedures that people accept as legitimate. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't see that revolution happening yet. Maybe it will, you know? Maybe I'm missing the signs. But I'm not just going to sit on my fucking ass and wait. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to persuade and inform and earn as many concessions as I can. If you don't agree with that, then you're just, I'm sorry, I find you to be ridiculous. Would you ever vote for a presidential candidate who's a socialist? 59% in 2025, 30% of independents, and 7% of Republicans. And by the way, you ask these same people, would you vote for Bernie Sanders? A lot more say yes. So the politicians, Bernie Sanders and AOC, are more popular than their label of socialist. That's what a lot of these guys don't want to accept. Is that if you're a left-winger, our left-wing politicians, Zohran Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders, they're more popular than the labels they apply to themselves, which allows our label to grow. And that's the contradiction. These people aren't using socialism, they're growing socialism. And that is a bitter pill to swallow if you're an ultra. And there's a reason why.
So let's get started with
There's a reason why the feds are subpoenaing Hassan. It's because they are starting to feel his effectiveness. They're starting to see him win elections with anti-Zionist politicians. They see how he helped Zohran Mamdani. They see how he helped Chris Robb. The more and more he's able to turn his online political commentary into actual political activity, the more likely they have to suppress him. El Sayed in Michigan. El Sayed, rather, excuse me. They are all winning, and they are seizing power. They're winning primaries at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level. And that's why they've got to stop Hassan. That's why they have to trash Hassan. That's why they have to criminalize Hassan, because they can't win the argument.
Article, I guess. What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker, and this Dawson I broadcast coming to you live from...
When those polls talk of voting for socialism, they just mean social liberalism in the best case scenario. Wrong. I mean, again, I'm not surprised you don't really know what you're talking about, which is okay. Some of my mods thought you were a suspicious user, so they thought you were annoying. If you actually study Bernie Sanders' campaign, they had the Sanders Institute, which was headed by Richard Wolff. And Richard Wolff was very specifically talking about all sorts of market socialist reforms that included like federal support for housing co-ops, business co-ops, rights of first refusal, where employees would be able to buy their companies if they ever tried to move them. Like, say I had a air conditioning factory. Richard Wolff wanted to set up, using the state, a fund where they could get zero interest or very low interest state-backed loans to buy their company, and then have the workers own the company in common. Like, all these ideas, these are all like Lassallean ideas, honestly. These are like pre-Marxian ideas. Are still nonetheless socialist ideas. They're not social liberal, which is just nonsense. And you know, that's what I was talking about, that phrase about nostalgia for a time that doesn't exist. A lot of these people, they talk about politics as if the Soviet Union still exists. The Marxist-Leninist states that exist have taken the Dengist model. Vietnam, China, and even to a lesser extent, North Korea. They have given up the central planning command economy for the most part. They are adopting Dengist reforms, market socialist reforms. And they're doing so in order to raise the productive forces within their societies.
Gloomy, rainy, New York. We're alive. And yeah. What can I say? I mean, there's obviously an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed, and I probably will get to it. But before I get to that, obviously, this is the time for personal news. It's 11:23 a.m. Pacific time. And it is 2:23 p.m. Eastern time here where I'm at in New York City, New York. Okay. And oh boy, oh buddy, things have materialized. As you guys know, actually, normally I would say I'm a chud ass loser, so I have nothing going on in my life. But this is the one instance where I won't say that. I do have going on in my life, a lot of actually. I just want to start off by saying, obviously, this is the #1 broadcast for loving Donald Trump. This is the #1 pro Donald Trump broadcast. No one on the planet loves Donald Trump as much as I do. I love the ballroom the most. #1 ballroom defending podcast. You know, I'm gonna act right. Okay. I'm gonna donate to the ballroom. Actually, I think we need to donate to the ball. I'm gonna do a fundraiser with this community for the ballroom. How about that? Now, of course, maybe some of you are unfamiliar with what's going on, and maybe many of you are completely aware of what's going on. But yeah, last night I ended the broadcast. I was tired, and I thought, oh, I'll just go to bed. I'll just go to sleep early. I have to wake up really early to do a photo shoot for a magazine. This was probably one of the craziest photo shoots that I've done so far, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second. But I, on the other hand, got a text message, or rather a voicemail, from a Fox News producer saying that I had been subpoenaed by the federal government. And I was like, that's strange, asking for comment. And before I could even respond to the journalist, an article materialized on the timeline. I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. But let's just say that kind of f***ed my whole night up. It f***ed my plans up. I still was able to do a little tub sesh, you know, get in the tub, get in the hot tub, get in the bathtub, little bit of salt, you know, and then go to bed and wake up early.
Has Trump ever addressed why the ultra secure room at the White House needs to be a ballroom? Because it's not. The ballroom is there's a cap. Ballroom is the surface building. They want to build a bunker. They want to build a Führer bunker on the White House grounds. So in order to justify it, they have to build they have to say they're building a ballroom. But it's really about the facilities that are underground. It's a Führer bunker. They saw that really shitty movie Civil War. They wants to make sure he doesn't die in the Oval Office when the revolution happens, right? When he just declares himself, you know, when he declares himself king president for life or whatever the fuck and rejects the 2028 election.
Now, the reason why I had to wake up early was because I'm
more surprised by the fact there isn't already a Führer bunker under the White House. I mean, there are some secure facilities, but the idea was because, like, in the Cold War, the Soviet Union would nuke DC, right? Like, if we had a nuclear exchange. So being in DC would be bad for your health. So the plan was always to move the president out to Air Force One so he would be a moving target and he would avoid being nuked. And Congress was supposed to go to a facility in West Virginia because who's nuking West Virginia? There's nothing there. Called, I think, Greenbrier. So, like, that, they never needed. So I guess so Trump building a bunker, he's not planning on there being a bunker. It's not a bunker to fight like a foreign adversary. The bunker is there to fight you. The bunker is there so that he can be protected from being, you know, attacked by American citizens. It's a bunker against you. I think one of the things that always kind of amazes me is, you know, people deciding they want to like kill Trump or whatever. And they do it in such an unconsidered way. Like, could someone explain to me what goes through someone's mind? They're like, I'm going to try to kill the president today, and I'm going to put no effort into it. That's honestly amazing to me. Like, they spontaneously just grab like a 38 and run up on the Secret Service. Like, what is that? I guess it's just suicide by cop, right? It's not a real attempt. People that do that are never mentally well. So true. It's just suicide. Yeah. I think that makes sense to me. To be fair, they're mostly right. Well, yeah, I mean, right-wingers are not very bright. Sarah Longwell fans. Yeah. The only people that are organized right now are the fascists. That's because left-wing militant groups are suppressed by the FBI viciously, whereas right-wingers are not. I mean, it's really that simple. Did you see Neera Tanden is riding with Trump? Oh, I did not. I have her muted because she's boring. I guess I could unmute her. Establishment moderate Dems are going to have to choose to defend Hassan Piker or side with the Trump administration. Both sides are the same. Okay. So here's kind of my general feeling. Let me see. Did she post something? Okay. I'm an adult, so I can say that the Trump administration weaponizing the justice system against dissenters on its Cuba policy is wrong. I could also say people who encourage people not to vote for Kamala were fascist enablers, and it's ironic they're expecting the Dems they attacked to blah, 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 blah. When I was growing up, I was given a really good public education. And one of the things that I realize every day that was my parents were incredibly effective or lucky because most people don't get that. But one of the things that I was taught in my public schooling was some of the ideas behind America. I was given a civic nationalist education. And what made it civic nationalism as opposed to romantic nationalism, which is what the Trump administration is trying to put in, is that it spoke about an America that was about ideas. And one of the ideas that was inculcated in me, even as a relatively young child, which I thought of as quintessentially the American idea, was I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. That to me was explained to me to be the quintessential belief of American liberalism, right? We even had it in the common culture with The People versus Larry Flint. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, where it's basically the idea that Larry Flint called a famous televangelist. He made a joke about how he fucked his mom in an outhouse. I think that is a quote that people attribute to Voltaire, but it's just... I think that's apocryphal. I think it's just somebody else wrote that, but it is kind of the essential nature of what liberalism is supposed to be. And so Neera Tanden here is exposing the bankruptcy of modern American liberalism. Is another way to say that Neera Tanden is explaining that liberalism is dead. She's not a liberal, right? Because a liberal would say, I find Hassan annoying. I find his arguments against the Democratic Party counterproductive. I think that his demand that we not support the Gaza genocide was a bridge too far electorally. Whatever the fuck she wants to say but can't say, right? But the essence of liberalism is supposed to be about free expression, right? It's supposed to be, our idea is the marketplace of ideas, and you have the right to make your arguments, and the state will not suppress you, right? That's supposed to be liberalism, free expression, freedom of conscience, rule of law, equal application of the law, no racial prejudice, no ideological purges. That's supposed to be liberalism. Neera Tanden, you're not even a liberal. You have abandoned the ideas of liberalism. And so what is Neera Tanden? Neera Tanden is a corporate status quo. The words that are coming to my mind are full of misogynistic and undertones or like anti-sex worker undertones. Stooge, thank you. And I respect sex workers, so I don't even want to analogize them with someone as evil as Neera Tanden. You are a corporate stooge, a toady of the fascist status quo, which are galloping to support Donald Trump. And the reason why Neera Tanden is not even a liberal is because she's okay with that because it helps her in her factional fight against Hassan. And I gotta tell you, like, Hassan is not anti-Democrat as a like, and neither am I really. I think the Democratic Party is terrible, and I want the entire thing thrown out. And I would prefer to start our own party that we are in control of and write our own bylaws that prevent it from being, taken over by people like Neera Tanden. But I don't think that you should never vote for a Democrat. I think that's a crazy position in America's system, as I explained earlier. If a good Democrat runs, who has good policies and good positions, you vote for that guy or gal or non-binary pal. It's not a question. The problem is, how do we get Democrats that are actually running on policies that will lead to a better society? And so I mean, that's really all there is to say. They're not even liberals anymore. And this is something that I have LOL pussy post. Mike, what's that mean? People who think you're all are anti-Democrat strike me as super naive to the broader left. There are people further left than you. I think there's a lot of centrists think it's impossible because you're the most radical person they've ever experienced. No. I mean, that's a very good idea. Like, I understand why you're saying that, but that's not actually true. Never assume your opponent is naive. That is a fatal flaw. Every time you feel like you're the smartest person, you're oftentimes being manipulated. That's another thing. It's a textbook scammer thing, is to make the mark feel like they are putting one on over their opponent. Never underestimate your opponent. Never attribute them naivete. If it turns out they are, great. That means they're easier to beat, but don't ever do that. The truth is, they understand political science. They understand that they are unpopular, okay? That's why they lie. The reason why they lie about me and Hassan is because that's their only path to win. They've gamed it all out. Right? If they could just say, ban this disgusting freak. Hold on, let me see what they say. I was going to go off on a rant, but this seems Hassan the communist is R-word girlfriend, blah blah blah. Well, use a toy. Oh God. Everybody, please report this user. His name is Smokey Bucknell. Everyone report that user. Report that user. They need mental health care. Isn't Hassan only being subpoenaed? Yeah, I mean, I haven't even seen the subpoena. What was I saying? Okay. Never think that your opponent is naive. This is something that I say a lot. This is one of Mike's axioms, so I repeat myself because I think it's valuable and you should learn it. I had a friend of mine who was a chess master, and he would say to me, never play hope chess. That was his #1 piece of advice for being better at chess. What does that mean? It says any strategy that depends upon your opponent missing something or making a suboptimal move is garbage. Certainly, you need to know how to exploit blunders. You should know how to find checkmate in one. But if your strategy requires your opponent missing that plain strategy, it's a terrible strategy, and you will fucking lose. Always assume that your opponent will make the best possible move they can on their turn as a response to your turn. Never play hope chess. Always assume your opponent is acting in a way that is in their interest. Because if you play hope chess, you'll only beat idiots, and you'll get absolutely stomped by anybody who's competent. And there are a lot of idiots out there, and you will win some games, but you're going to win a lot less games than you could have had you played as if your opponent was intelligent. Okay? Doesn't that apply to entryism of the Democratic Party? Think they're stupid and won't defend effectively their own party? That's exactly what I'm getting to. This strategy is a factional strategy, right? They are saying the reason why they pretend that myself or Hassan or whatever are the end-all be-all radical anti-Democrats is because they've done focus groups and they tested all sorts of attacks against left-wingers. And they found that none of them work because the Democratic Party voters like our ideas. The only idea that works to defeat the left is the idea that we're an interloper, that we're not on the team, that we're not going to help other Democrats beat the Republicans, that we actually work with the Republicans, that we are, ironically, the way they actually act is the way they try to talk about us acting, because Democratic-based voters have one controlling idea, beating the Republicans. And so their strategy of saying that we don't really hate the right or that we work with the right is a factional strategy. It is a focus group strategy. It is a strategy of appealing to the identity of a Democrat as a Democrat. Now, you and I know, if you actually listen to me or Hassan, my problem with the Democratic Party is that they don't fight the Republicans enough. I have been calling for constitutional hardball for 12 fucking years. You go and read my post from 2016, I'm saying pack the Supreme Court. If you read my post from 2020, I'm saying For the People Act. I'm saying ban gerrymandering, public financing of elections, packing the Supreme Court, adding to DC and Puerto Rico as states. Every single thing I say is about defeating the Republican Party through constitutional hardball. I hate the Republicans more than they do because I know the Republicans and they work with them. They're the party of, we need to have a strong Republican Party. Joe Biden literally said, and I tweeted this before if somebody wants to find it, that he doesn't want the Democrats to win by too much because that is bad for bipartisanship. If the Democrats win by too much, that's bad for bipartisanship. That's what Joe Biden said. Nancy Pelosi, I want a strong Republican Party. Barack Obama last week, I want a strong Republican Party. They love the Republican Party because they understand that the only way the status quo can continue is if they get a kind of knife edge balanced Democratic control, right? Where the Democrats control 50 senators and the 50th senator is super right wing. So that all they can really do is the tiniest tweaks of the status quo. That's the politics they have. That's the outcome they want. They oppose you and they like the status quo because Neera Tanden makes millions from the status quo. Why the fuck would she want the status quo to change? Barack Obama's got a development deal with Netflix. Why the fuck would he want the status quo to change? They love the fucking status quo.
We need a Republican Party. We need an opposition that's principled and strong. And I think you're going to see them going through this idea of what constitutes a Republican Party. And to hear some of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, talk about how shameful it is of the way Ted Cruz and others are dealing with this, how they're responsible as well for what happened.
Do you think some of them should resign? Should Senator Cruz or Senator Hawley resign?
I think they should be just flat beaten the next time they run. I think the American public has a real good, clear look at who they are. They're part of the big lie, the big lie. I was being reminded by a friend of mine, and maybe you were with me, I can't recall, when we were told that, you know, Goebbels and the great lie, you keep repeating the lie, repeating the lie. Well,
so there you have it, chat. I want a principled, strong Republican Party. This is training liberals to not fight back. Jasmine Crockett endorsing Bell over Cori Bush boosted a post mocking Hassan for the subpoena.
Jasmine Crockett is now lying about endorsing Wesley Bell, who, again, took $13 million from AIPAC to unseat a black woman named Cori Bush, who is pro-Palestine and pro-Medicare for all. And now she is neck and neck in the polling with him now that she's running against him again because the pro-Palestine movement is not playing about genocide supporters. Crockett wants to come out and endorse him. I'm sorry, but the words you said out of your own mouth are, I can't think of a better fighter for Missouri 1, the district that they're both running against each other in, than Wesley Bell. That is an endorsement. Even you just taking a picture with him and going on stage with him is literally putting your weight behind him. We know how politics work. We're not stupid. Bernie Sanders does it all the time when he gets on stage with people without formally endorsing them. That's an endorsement. Now that we have gotten that over with, black people, this is for us right now. We got to talk. We don't have time for this shit, y'all. We do not have time, luxury, or none of this to be having people in our community pushing fascism. Zionism is fascism. Zionism is the reason we lost this app. Zionism put $200 million behind Trump. Zionism is the reason that people were shut down on college campuses for speaking out against the genocide. And that is bipartisan, babe.
And by the way, I mean, this is why you guys have to understand that Zionism is a litmus test, not because Israel and Palestine are the only issue, although what could be a more important issue than ending a genocide, but because being willing to take Zionist money means you are for sale. For every corrupt corporation in America, if you'll ignore a genocide, what's an oil spill? What's wage theft? What's cancer in a drug? You're willing to let children be bombed in 4K? Of course you're going to take that tobacco company money. Of course you're going to take that fossil fuel money. Of course you're going to take that banker money. Because if you're willing to take that money, if you're willing to endorse a genocide, what will you not endorse? You'll endorse anything for a check. You have no values. So Zionism and taking AIPAC money is not just about Israel, Palestine. It's about your character. It's about who you are as a politician. It means that you will sell out your community and your voters and moral righteousness and your own reputation for power. And ladies and gentlemen, those types of people not only shouldn't have power, they shouldn't be free. That type of person should be in a jail or a mental hospital because that's insane.
So I got to have my people lock in. I know everybody else is going to do what they do. It seems like the liberals are done with Zionism. Thank God, that's great. But unfortunately, they have
They're done for now because why would they? They don't have any executive power. This is what you guys don't understand. Liberals now, they could pretend to be done with Zionism because they don't have any executive power, so they can't pull any triggers right now, right? The Republicans have the trifecta. They're not against Zionism. They're lying. Unless someone was an anti-Zionist during the Biden administration, you cannot trust them on Zionism. We saw the same thing with the Iraq war, right? George, Hillary Clinton voted for the Iraq war. Joe Biden voted for the Iraq war. They were Zionists. And then later they tried to pretend they were against it. They're not. And when they were given the opportunity to launch another war, they did. The only reason they are saying that is because they can read the polling, okay? Like they understand that being openly pro-genocide or pro-Israel right now will lose them the election. So because they have no power, they're not saying anything. But if you elect a Gavin Newsom or any of these other Zionists, they'll go right back to defending and supporting Israel. Stop being so fucking naive. There are definitely subtopics that are more black and white for sure, although I feel this is not the majority. That is what made MLK so influential. He understood that progress lied with unity, even if a polarized response could be justified. Because if a person would take to the streets to fight against racial injustice, of course that same person would take to the streets to fight against other crimes. If you have a developed moral sense and you have the willingness and the ability to take to the streets on one injustice, of course you're going to learn, and that's why they hate that shit. That's why they try to separate these movements out. That's why they try to create infighting. Because once you are a politically engaged person who's willing to take to the streets to fight injustice once, then you are very likely to do it again.
Many puppets, like Malcolm X said, influencing our community. And this is why I was trying to explain to people why we should not be letting these black folks who are taking money from child killers represent us. Because now people are lying for Jasmine Crockett. And now it is creating the same type of, view of our black community as the Jewish community, because they used the Jewish community to shield Zionism and child murder. And a lot of Jewish people participated in it. So to the black folks who are participating in defending this behavior, you're putting our entire community in danger. We do not have an apartheid state to run to, and we do not have the institutional power to protect ourselves. Jasmine Crockett may have it because she sold out to those people, but she only has power because they gave it to her and she supports them. We could put power behind a real fighter like Cori Bush by donating to her, and other progressives and other black radicals. Chris Rabb just won. We're literally winning right now. So, stay focused. And again, for my people, we can't play with this no more, okay? Because they did the same thing and it's not working. Breaking news, Jasmine Crockett is now lying about...
and that's, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what I'm talking about.
A photo shoot, okay? I had a photo shoot this morning. That's what I was doing this morning. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had a fitting for this photo shoot before I started the broadcast. And the stylist, who had also worked on Marty Supreme, by the way, had so many sick pulls that were vintage that I literally bought some of them straight up. I bought some of them off of her. I was like, if you're not going to return these, can I buy these? And she was like, sure. including the pants that I'm wearing right now. And I did a photo shoot this morning, all morning. Woke up at 5, couldn't really sleep at all. Went to bed at like around 12. Wait, what? I'm glad you hired a stylist. I didn't hire a stylist. There was a stylist for the magazine photo shoot that I'm doing, that I did. And she brought racks of clothes to do a fitting yesterday to pick out outfits for this magazine photo shoot. And I liked some of them because they were vintage. There was a vintage Armani suit, Giorgio Armani. And normally doesn't fit me at all, but she had like pulled stuff somehow that actually fit. So I was like, well, I was gonna purchase stuff like this regardless. And yeah, I bought some of it anyway. But it was a great photo shoot overall. It was very professional. There's still one more. You're perfect with the vintage Armani look, bro. You should try and source more. Yeah, I mean, it was super cheap too. Like the pants I'm wearing are like Ermenegildo Zegna, and I think they were like $30 or something. Secondhand, vintage, reseller. It was dope. It was nice. But yeah, obviously some more important things going on. Some more important things going on in the world, in my world, and specifically in U.S. politics. And oftentimes my world and the world of U.S. politics unfortunately merge. But yeah, we'll get to obviously the elephant in the room that I will be addressing. But that's what I spent my morning doing. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's not great. The news is not great. Okay. I mean, it's bullshit, but still not great. And I'll obviously get into it right now. I'll tell you all about it. Great timing. The timing since the interview yesterday is crazy though. Yeah, I saw a lot of like weird suspicions that, oh, this is because of Elon Musk. Guys, that's not how this works. Okay. Getting a subpoena from the federal government, that takes time. I haven't gotten anything yet. So I don't know. I don't know anything. But this is a long-term process. So this is not new, if that makes sense. If you think that this was like, this happened because of Elon Musk or something, well, no, that's not the case, right? No, it's not a congressional subpoena. It's from the DOJ and the Treasury. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get into that right now. We're blasting off. Hope you're lawyered up. Yes, I'll get lawyered up. Don't worry. Get Legal Eagle on your team. Guys, that's not how this works. I need like
he needs an actual lawyer, chat, not just one who plays one on YouTube, right? Like, by the way, apparently Legal Eagle, who I used to call the liberal eagle and make fun of, is starting to crash out more, which is good. I'm glad that he's crashing out. I tried to explain legal realism. Part of the problem that we have in America is that a lot of people, how do I put this? This is such a mean thing to say, but I'm going to say it. A lot of people, they come from white privilege and wealth. And for those people, all you have to do is have a pulse and be able to fill out your tests, right? You go to a fucking private school, you get tutored up the ass, and all you have to do is be able to fill in some bubbles once in a while, which they're spending literally tens of thousands of dollars a year to train you that what the right bubble is. Not exactly that impressive. I'll be completely honest with you. As somebody who is very good test taker, I sat at my desk at school and filled in the multiple choice bubble really well. Is not impressive, okay? But for a lot of white people, that's the only successful thing they've ever done, all right? And so what do you do with that logic? Well, you just keep taking more classes. You keep taking more classes, and you keep listening to the teacher, and you keep volunteering to be the hall monitor. And then you end up in a job. What's the ultimate job for the hall monitor, center of the front row nerd who kisses the teacher's ass all day? Lawyer. If you just keep filling in the bubbles and you keep being the hall monitor, you end up all the way in law school, okay? So a white dude who goes to law school, who has a lot of faith in the system, that's not exactly progressive. That's just somebody who the system was designed for. And they didn't have the ability to have any kind of critical thought around the system or empathy to see how it was failing the people around them. So I am not impressed, quite frankly. I will be, because I've been in these rooms with these people and they're a bore. So I was never, and this is really not good for me, I was never really a Legal Eagle fan because I found that his his liberalism and his ideological liberalism and faith in the American Constitution, I found incredibly off-putting and naive to such an extent that I didn't like it. And I tried to offer an alternative perspective on the law called legal realism that has never let me down. Are you talking about my ex from 7 years ago, Thick Oogie? Is that what they're trying to do? Is that I guess that's Asmongold. I guess Asmongold is trying to push that. Bro, you watch Asmongold, man. Come on, dude. It's so funny because like as a regular looking dude who's always dated well above his range, let's just say I've never dated a looks max, or a looks match rather. People that are incels will put their energy on my 5'9" ass, and they'll be like, he's kind of chubby, he's 5'9", he must be an incel like me. No, bro, no, that's your problem. Damn, you're short. Yeah, I know, I'm only 5'9". It sucks. It's short king Mike. You know what I mean? And it's just embarrassing that we have these like Gen Zers. They put their incel energy on me, especially Asmongold. The guy has never dated anyone he wasn't paying, either through money directly or clout. I'm 5'8". Sorry, Mike. You're shorter than me. Damn. 5'9". I'm 5'5". Y'all haha short. I mean, I think 5'9" is short, personally. I think that is like below average, right? Isn't the average guy 5'10"? I thought the average guy in America was 5'10". Has our height gone down? Average is 5'9". Damn, our height has gone down. It used to be 5'10". Americans are getting shorter. Bad diets. Bad food, bad diets. Imagine not being 6'1". These Chinese kids are tall, Mike, like really tall. Yeah, because they have like a communist system that provides them with like rationally calculated food. The world is not ready for tall Chinese people. The world is not ready for the Chinese century. 5'9" has been average my whole life. No, it's been 5'10". Oh my God. Average height of... See? In 1980, the average height of a man was 179 centimeters. And now, if you're born in 1990, it's 175. Why does anybody ever disagree with me? At a certain point, how many times can you guys be fucking owned before you kind of just accept that I don't say shit that's wrong? Jesus Christ. You can literally see the dip. 4 centimeters lost, which is an inch. 179 centimeters equals 5 foot 10.5 inches. You guys got fucking owned. The average height by decade of birth. You can see in America, we fell. I think we're like, are we the only country whose heights fell? I guess Nigeria is kind of like plateauing. That's a crazy drop too, yeah. You want me to add the UK? Oh, the United Kingdom kind of went down a little too. You're still short. Exactly! What I'm trying to say is 5'9" is short. 5'9" is short. I'm saying I'm short. Like, why are you guys fighting me on this? Why are you trying to fight me on this when I say I'm short? Because I am. Now it was short, now it's average. I'm 5'9" and I'm a Mexican girl. That is tall for me. You're really tall. Any woman that's over, if you are, if you were born assigned female at birth, if you're a woman and you went through anyone who's taller than 5'5" is tall for a woman. A 5'5" woman is equivalent to a 5'10" man. If you're taller than 5'5", you're tall. And if you're shorter than 5'5", you're not allowed to have height preferences because you're short. No, I'm kidding. You could date whoever you want. I don't actually care. I'm just being a shitter. Dropsite has reported that Israel has divided Gaza with 25 kilometers of barriers. Yeah. Genocide is still proceeding.
Need a team, most likely of First Amendment.
Lock me up, 5'11" and a half woman. That's how I know you're a woman, because any man would say they were 6 foot if they were 5'11" and a half. Any man would say I'm 6 if they were 5'11" and a half. That's how I know you're a woman. Because no man says I'm 5'11" and a half. Except Will. Well, Will is so much aura, he can do that.
I meant like lawyers that are specifically lawyers that are experienced in federal court cases, possibly a lawyer for First Amendment related issues as well, and then also one that is adept and knowledgeable on.
I was never commented on in the 80s and 90s. It's an internet thing. My sweet summer child. Being tall was always, back in the day, women would say they wanted someone tall, dark, and handsome. That's what women would say back in the day. That's the boomer way of describing their ideal man. And the strong, silent type. Those are the two things you heard. Tall, dark, and handsome, and the strong, silent type. That's the old boomer, like, women describing their ideal man. That's the, like, conventional attractive. I'm going back to not talking because if I comment, Twitch bans me, but I don't think Israel should be allowed, period. I'm back to lurking. I mean, I think Israel is a fascist, apartheid, genocide, settler colonial state that should not be allowed to exist under international law, that's for sure. It certainly should be boycott, divested from, and sanctioned until they learn to accept basic humanitarian values. What was I saying? Oh yeah, we were talking about height. I saw a TikTok and I was like, why are you showing me this? But it was so funny. It was like, the TikTok was called your soulmate is 5'8" or something. And it was very funny. And I was like, this is how you pick me. This is how you be a pick me. Wait, see if I can show it to you, chat. Oh, he's 5'7".
He's 5'7".
I found it.
The love of your life. He's 5'7".
It looks like the Trump
Oh,
administration.
no, we're
He's
watching
5'7".
this.
The love of your life.
I'm making
He's
all
5'7".
chat watch this.
That may be a little disappointing, but this is me telling you that the man who you say you're looking for, the one who is funny and charming and sexy and breathtakingly calm, is 5'7", statistically. For all you know, he may even be 5'6". The man who will be a wonderful father and incredible life partner, the one who will know just by looking at you that it's time to leave the party and go home and put on pajama pants and become one with the sofa, is 5'7". The one whose eyes you'll be so glad your children got and who you will not even be able to imagine your life without is 5'7". The one about whom even the idea of living one day in a world without him is so heartbreaking that sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and touch his back just to make sure he's still is 5'7". Now, think about that there's some sliding doors universe in which you arbitrarily click a box that makes it so you never even meet your... In fact, you never even see his face because of one momentary decision based entirely upon your ability. Uncomfortable shoes. These aren't even shoes you wear a lot. You're going to pass up all of that for a pair of shoes that you could wear anyway? That's so stupid. Don't do that. Don't deny yourself the absolute wonderful moment where your husband tenderly brushes the hair away from your face, kisses your lips, and looks into your eyes and says, "Honey, I'm 5'8". Follow me for more of...
And, you know, honestly, I like this video because it is anti-gender wars. And I gotta tell you, chat, like, you know, I know a lot of left-wingers talk about the, like, don't do generation wars, right? Like, oh, no, it's not all boomers. You know, a lot of lefters are like, oh, it's not all boomers. The gender wars shit makes me really uncomfortable from both directions. And I like this video because it's anti-gender wars. Because a lot of people are lonely. And being lonely is pathetic. So people convert that loneliness to, oh, I'm not lonely, I'm picky. And they protect their ego. And well, that works for a while. Your ass is still fucking alone. And then eventually it becomes bitterness. And then it starts to become, I'm not bitter. I'm not alone. I'm not a incel / femcel. I just have really high standards. And the other gender is to blame. They don't value what really matters, right? It is fucking stupid. It's pathetic. It's garbage, right? Get the fuck out of this. As a 5'9" woman, dating a man the same height as me has never ever stopped me from wearing my beloved 3-inch plus wedges and stilettos. Yeah, why would it? Who cares? There's nothing more oralful than dating a taller woman. When a woman is taller than you and is dating you, that is the most oralful thing a man can be. It doesn't matter how tall they are. If you're 6'4" and you're dating a woman who's 6'7", that's a fucking oralful move. You guys are so easy. I got you guys dancing around on my string. All right, let's go back to Hassan is now going to die because he's being subpoenaed by the Trump administration. Except he won't, because the thing you guys got to remember is the Trump administration is dickless. The Trump administration is a dickless organization of incompetence. Now, I don't tolerate people that are like hating this or demonizing Hassan or relishing Hassan being targeted for oppression because that's fucking insane. And there are few norms that are still in position, right? And the idea that people should be targeted by the Trump administration for oppression because they gave humanitarian aid to a country that we are besieging and starving. And you think that's like, oh, got him. Third Way, ACP siding with Hassan D, NFBE, Nora Chorus, Jasmine Crockett, K-Hive siding with Trump. Who's NF? Who the fuck is NF? Fox News had the same number of mentions in Hassan Esmail as Jeffrey Epstein. That's funny. That's a good post. Like I would, by as far as like the time of it, of course. And the reason why, by the way, they're not attacking Hassan because he's ineffective. They're attacking Hassan because he's effective, because he's broke out of containment. This is what you guys don't understand. Hassan is now working his will in politics. And so they can't kill him by ignoring him. That's what they largely do to me, by the way. They largely ignore me. They largely try to keep, nobody really talks about me except people that have personal beef with me, right? Like as far as the big names, right? And there's a reason for that, because they're trying to contain our type of politics. But with Hassan, he's just too big. He's at the top of Twitch, right? He's at, you know, he is getting people to go and like actually elect politicians into office. That situation is not something that they can contain anymore. Like they destroyed the Philadelphia Democratic Party machine. And that's a party machine that includes Republicans and Democrats. And so this is something that people don't understand. That's really necessary to understand, is that these big party machines, whether they're in LA or San Diego or Philadelphia or New York or Chicago, all these Democratic Party machines are uniparty machines. They are really Republican parties. They call themselves Democrats because that's the brand name. But if you look at the politics, outside of some social issues that'll really get them in trouble, they vote with the Republicans on a lot of shit, okay? That's why the Congressional Black Caucus is oftentimes on the right side of the Democratic Party ideologically, because the Republican Party donors buy conservative Democrats in those districts, and they're now eliminating them because the Republicans don't need them anymore. They have such control of the Supreme Court that they believe that they can control American politics directly through cheating. They don't need those machine Democrats anymore. And so they are eliminating them and just replacing them with regular Republicans, because why not, right? The Voting Rights Act is a dead letter. Why bother with this complicated dual party? You know, it ultimately helps the Democratic Party to have some seats from the South, right? So why just dispense with that altogether? And so we're seeing the old Democratic Party machine fall. And while that's very bad to see the Republicans cheating, it may actually end up being beneficial in the long run. Because when we come back, we're going to have more black representatives out of the South, not less. Because we're going to have fair districts. We're going to have a Democratic Party worth voting for because it actually changes your life. And that is the difference. That's what they're worried about. If Democrats win all districts up to Trump plus 9 under the new maps, Dems 222, GOP 223. Under the old maps, Dems 239, 190-76. A 17-seat gap. That's the story of redistricting in a nutshell. Yeah, the Republicans won redistricting with the Virginia Supreme Court decision. And by the way, centrist Democrats like that. They like that because then they have to be like, oh, we can't vote for anything because our Republican seats, our Republican seat members. Oh, no, we can't vote for anything. And then, of course, they're going to lose.
Sanctions and the Treasury and OFAC in particular. So it's not like no disrespect to Legal Eagle, who is a brilliant lawyer, I assume, but very different type of lawyer is necessary in this situation. So do not talk about what's going on before talking to a lawyer. I mean, there's nothing I have not had anything happen to me yet. Like, technically nothing has happened to me. It's just Fox News is saying things are happening to me. So, and it's not like there's anything that I've done. The liberals at the politics sub are defending you. r/politics defending me is crazy. So let's get started. So I'm hit in the face with this text message, or this voicemail rather, from Fox News producer. And it's a little bit alarming. It's a little bit shocking. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what do you, I'm a little bit confused, because I'm like, why does Fox News know about something that apparently is going on in my life that I didn't know about, right? If Treasury OFAC bothers to send you a subpoena, it's not your week. Yeah, I know what OFAC is. I'm very familiar with what OFAC is. You want to know why I'm very familiar with what OFAC is? Because we filed OFAC clearances before going to Cuba. I've talked about it extensively, as a matter of fact. Our trip had to be OFAC compliant. So let's get started with the article, I guess. Fed subpoena Hassan Piker, Medea Benjamin over Cuba trips. Investigation part of a broader dragnet involving as many 40 American citizens who joined Marxist convoy to Havana. First on Fox, breaking news. Federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hassan Piker and co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as a part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime. Fox News Digital has learned. Piker and Benjamin are among those caught in a federal inquiry into whether activists who traveled to Cuba in March violated U.S. sanctions laws through the financing, coordination, or delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with the Cuban government personnel or entities on the island. The administrative subpoenas were sent to the pair by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. So not only were we OFAC compliant, but I'm also doubly protected because I didn't just go to Cuba on a humanitarian aid trip. I went to Cuba with a journalism visa. So I actually got a press visa from the Cuban government as well. I was there to interview people. I interviewed regular Cubans and ordinary Cubans in Cuban society. I interviewed doctors, and I also interviewed government officials. But it's also out there, you know? It's not a secret. If you go to my YouTube page right now, you can see it. It's actually right here. I went to Cuba. This is what I saw. Mini doc. I pretty much filmed everything that I did there. And I put it into this mini doc. Here I am interviewing the foreign minister. So kind of strange. This is Jody Evans, who I took a photo with. They love this photo for some reason. I don't know why. She's one of the co-founders of...
because you guys are like decent looking people, so that attracts more clicks. It's not that complicated, right? Like if you want to understand right-wing media, I'll explain it to you. They post people that are either sexually titillating or overtly off-putting and disgusting, right? Like they would never post a like normal picture of me because I'm an average looking dude when I'm, you know, if I'm just sitting here like, you know, I'm an average looking dude. So they would not post that. They would find a picture where I looked really fat and gross, right? And with Hassan, they try to find pictures of him looking hot, right? Because average posts, average looking people don't attract clicks. Like this is just how the fascists work. Either they try to, you know, titillate you or disgust you. It's very easy. You know, just think of them as like a fucking ape. That's the average brain of a conservative.
Of Code Pink. She's wonderful. Like all of this,
this investigation is far from average. Thank you. Thank you. People that are sexually attracted to men have an ability to cope about attractiveness that is incredibly amazing to me. I consider it to be the most perverted fetish, but it is what it is. You like men sexually, that's perverted. Straight women are really weird. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, chat. That's a joke.
At least the high notes make it seem like they just saw stuff on like New York.
I like the way men smell. See, that's some reptile brain shit right there. That's reptile brain shit.
Post and on Twitter, and we're like, oh, this must be valid. In mid-March, organizations in the Singham Network from the Venceremos Brigade to be...
It's like, you know, like, at least in, you know, we've had this discussion before, but like, it's not just being attracted to men. You're attracted to straight men. It's why the like the homath guys and stuff, they get so much traction from men, because men, when they're told like, hey, maybe you should like get a haircut, take a shower, maybe try to style yourself a little bit, maybe go to the gym, you know, they think that's equivalent to being tortured, but they expect a woman who does all of those things. And it's like, that's kind of you know, in my in the Reaction podcast, we did an episode with Clavicular with Liv Agar, and Liv and I talked about our theory that clavicular is really just feminization of men. The actual feminization of men, which is, he is one of the first people that are truly feminizing men. And it's not trans people. Those people were actually ending the gender oppression, right? They were post-gender. Whereas clavicular is feminizing men by making them change their ways to consider the female gaze, basically to turn men into women, in the sense of they're constantly being appraised and evaluated for their physical attractiveness, and kind of like advancing physical attractiveness as more important than character or merit or even social status. Mogging is really just feminizing you. And I say that because the feminine gender is the oppressed gender. He's tried to basically consider, he wants gender performance to be oppressive for everyone. He wants men to have to spend thousands of dollars at, you know, cosmetic procedures and wear makeup and all this other shit, right? That is, you know, thinking about gender presentation from the perspective of being an objectified non-person. It's profoundly gay in a lot of ways. It's a profoundly queer. And I'm not saying that clavicular is gay. I'm not saying that clavicular is queer in the sense that he's attracted to men. What I'm saying is he's queering gender. He's making men more like women. And I don't think it's intentional, right? I don't think that's intentional. And I'm not saying that he's a good guy or anything. But he's doing so in a kind of oppressive way, not in a liberatory way. It's like anti-queer. I think that's a better way of putting it. Like, I'm not saying he's part of the liberatory movement. He's like anti-queer, but like not in the sense of like hates queer people, but like he's doing the opposite of what queer people are doing. He's doing the opposite of what like drag queens are doing, which is drag queens are kind of abolishing the gender binary and embracing the gender performance, kind of break down those oppressive cycles. They're kind of satirizing it, whereas he is like reifying it and kind of like saying, no, not only is objectification good, it's actually the best way to evaluate someone. Yeah, Bizarro. Yeah, he's like an inverted queerness. I've seen queer creators say looks maxing is just gay gym culture brought into the public. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said feminizing, because I know a lot of these terms are imprecise because we're talking about gender. And so what I'm trying to analogize what clavicular is doing. I'm not saying it's actually feminizing, because feminine is an oppressed gender, whereas men aren't. But he's injecting a lot of those oppressive tendencies of being a woman into men and kind of try to convince them that it's a good thing. He's like the complete opposite of my perspective on gender. I kind of consider myself a gender abolitionist, whereas he is like a gender reifier. He wants to harden those gender categories and actually make them the operative way in which people are judged. How well do you gender perform? Which is ultimately a fascist project, because it is about evaluating someone based on their aesthetics, which is fascism in a nutshell, right? The destruction of those that we consider to be subnormal or abnormal or different in favor of some sort of like platonic ideal. He's a gender fascist. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And that's why I gotta be honest, I don't have any kind of feelings towards clavicular, man. The feelings I have for clavicular is the same feelings I have towards like, you know that classic World War II documentary scene where a huge swastika is like detonated and turned into fucking dust. You guys know what I'm talking about? That's how I feel towards clavicular.
People's Forum, a hub for communist cause in New York City, were leaders of the Nuestra American Convoy, which included an estimated 650 delegates from 33 countries and 120 organizations. The organizations included Democratic Socialists of America, a U.S. nonprofit that promotes Piker as a headline member. By the way, that's so funny. The DSA does not promote me as a headline member, but, you know, fuck it. We ball. According to public statements, it's believed that delegation members stayed at a hotel the U.S. State Department has put on a Cuba restricted list. Oh, this is what's really funny. This is not a part of the subpoena, I don't think. This journalist is just adding this on. I haven't received the subpoena yet, so I have no idea. But let me tell you why. We didn't actually stay at the wrong hotel. That was just something that people made up on Twitter. It wasn't me, though. It was Nick Shirley. We obviously didn't stay at a hotel that the American government has made illegal to stay in. When's the court date? I don't know anything. I don't know anything because I have not received a subpoena. Okay? I need you to understand something. I have not received a subpoena. I don't know. There is no information that I have received. Wasn't most of what you did? Yes, everything we did in Cuba was cleared with the State Department, or not the State Department, the Treasury. Did they try to sneak? Did they sneak taking these photos of you? Yes. I talked to some people, and I suspect that they got shots of me in the morning as Kaya was peeing before I go to the gym. And then they also got, they got.
I mean, this is just like so fucking weird, man. Like having a trained dog, like for the average conservative, their brains cannot handle having a trained dog. They just cannot, in their minds, they cannot accept that if you call for your, like, I have a cat that's more trained than they have than the average conservative dog. Dogs want to be trained. They address off of you. They are extra, like, if you have a fucking untrained dog, you have to actually like fuck up hard. Well, some different breeds are different levels of trainability, right? That is, of course, true. Different, and every dog is an individual. But in large part, they are evolved to address off of you. They look at you and they're like, what do you want me to do? It's not hard. So if they're running around being assholes, that's your fault. So him going like, all right, Kaya, go inside, that, and she doing it, that doesn't mean she was tortured. It just means that he's not a fuck up.
Got shots of you know, someone who works with me as well, which was really annoying. That means that they just parked outside my house all the way back in
like, for example, let me talk about this for a second. One of these pictures actually confirmed that Hassan didn't shock Kaya. One of his employees was walking Kaya and had this remote on her neck. Why does she have the remote on her neck? Because Kaya is a very large breed dog, right? Kaya is a very large breed dog, very strong, very powerful. And here she is, the Educator PG300 vibration collar. Oops. Wasn't even a shock collar. Kaya Gate disproven. Not that anybody fucking cares, really. Have you ever heard a conservative say that we shouldn't use a prong collar or a shock collar on a dog? I have never in my life heard them go, oh my God, I'm such an animal rights activist. I don't think you should be able to use a slip collar or a prong collar or shock collar on a dog. Every single PetSmart is absolutely full of prong collars and shock collars and invisible fences and all these other, like, what the fuck are they even saying? And as far as I know, it's not a socialist rule that you can't use negative reinforcement on a dog. Now, I don't personally think it's a good idea. I think it's not the optimal way to train a dog, but it's certainly not a tenet of socialism that you're not allowed to use negative reinforcement ever. Like, what are they even talking about? They just made shit up. The part where they talk Kai, it's very clear with these photos. The play was a spear story on him along the lines of the evil kingmaker. Then the subpoena fell into their lap. And again, do any of the people who pushed the Kaya gate, because there is no evidence that Hassan shocked Kaya. I just want you guys to understand that. There is no evidence that Hassan ever shocked Kaya. All they have is Hassan was on stream and Kaya yelped. That's literally all they have. Now, we all have theories as to why she yelped, but it's a fucking dog. A single yelp is not a cause for concern. You look, oh, are you okay? They look fine. They're not, you know, they're not showing any signs of distress. Everybody who's ever had a dog, that happens. Some people think her Claw got caught. Maybe. The point is, people just invented a fucking hysterical. Now you understand how lynch mobs happen, right? They created a hysterical narrative based on someone they were socially ostracizing or attempting to. And it's not based on anything. It's not for negative reinforcement. Static collars are used to train the dog to look at you to accept the command. Yeah, I know. I'm not, by the way, you're right. I'm not saying I would say the vibration is a non-positive stimuli, right? Like the vibration is like, the dog is like, whoa, they get a little bit of startle, right? So I would call it I mean, I'm not trying to be a omega peta lib here. I don't think it's a problem, okay? I don't think a vibration is a big deal, but it's still kind of like a non-positive stimuli. Or I mean, like, when I say positive, I mean like rewarding. It's not a reward. But as far as like all the ways that you could get a startle response in a dog, it doesn't cause any pain, and it's not. I don't think it's a fucking wrong. I don't think there's a problem with it. You can fucking crucify me if you want. What if it gets good? Yeah, of course I mean, again, when you have a large dog, they have the capacity to do a lot of damage. And Kaya is a mix of a lot of dangerous fighting breeds and guard breeds. So if Kaya decided she wanted to hurt someone, she could really hurt someone. So it's very important that Kaya be well-trained, right? Like, it's important that Kaya be responsive to command, that Kaya be well-socialized. Because if Kaya wasn't, she would represent a danger. Now, that's just, you know, anytime you have a large breed dog, anytime you have a dog that weighs more than like 20 pounds, that's true. And the bigger they get and the stronger they get, the more dangerous they can be. It doesn't mean that I think there's anything negative about that. That's just evaluating stuff fairly. I mean, people have been killed by golden retrievers, for fuck's sakes. You know, like, it is what it is. Now, is a golden retriever going to kill you? Probably not, because they're not bred for fighting or guarding. But they're a large breed dog with a large mouth. And if they bit you, enough times where they bit you in the wrong spot, they could kill you. Now, something like Kaya is obviously much more dangerous than that because she's a mix of very large fighting breeds or guard breeds, and they are, bred to bite. Golden retrievers are big dogs, yes. Or Labradors, so are German Shepherds. Like, people tend to look at the German Shepherd and see the threat more easily, or a Doberman or whatever, or a Rottie. Like, you could kind of tell that those breeds are more of a, but so are Weimaraner's and Goldens and Labs. They could all fuck you up too if they tried, especially if you're small. Any dog can be dangerous, but some breeds are more difficult to socialize and have stronger instincts to bond with just one person and guard them. Yes, exactly. These photos were taken in January, which is way before Cuba was stumping for Abdul. So why were they stalking him out? Because, again, he has influence. He has influence. The Democratic Socialists of America is a key member of the transnational network backing the Communist Party of Cuba. Critics note Democratic Socialists aren't just about democratic socialism, but in fact support communist regimes, including the one that has run Cuba since 1959. As Mr. Larkin and others make their arguments to support Piker and Benjamin, note the ideological alignment of Democratic Socialists of America with the Communist Party of Cuba to the clear window in their ideological beliefs. Thank you. No, no, no. We just don't believe that the United States has the right to impose ourselves on other nations. And the Cuban people have been sanctioned and they have been blockaded and they have been attacked by our empire. And that's wrong. And we have committed crimes against the Cuban people.
In January, like months ago, and have just been taking photos of me, which is definitely weird. It's a violation of my privacy, but it is what it is. Piker, one of the most influential political streamers on Twitch, has built a massive online following with a mix of Marxist politics, anti-American commentary, and inflammatory statements that have repeatedly drawn public backlash. On March 10th, Piker posted a photo of himself on Instagram with the message, "I'm going to Cuba." By the way, once again, this proves many different things that I have been saying conclusively, which is that, Kaya goes on walks while I'm streaming, and it's really funny that people just wouldn't believe me at all. And now there is this, it's in the paper, okay? Piker, Benjamin, Singham, Evans, and Code Pink did not respond to requests for comment. Yeah, it's because you literally sent me a request for comment and then immediately published. Not to say that I would probably give Fox News a comment anyway, but sometimes I think people forget you're a real person with real things happening to you. Yes. I always found it odd that when Hassan got off the plane in Cuba, one of the first people waiting to take a selfie with him was Jody Evans, Neville Roy Singham's wife and Code Pink co-founder. I don't know. Maybe because she was one of the people that was on the... She's a part of the Code Pink organization. And Code Pink was also there. Like, they were also, putting... I don't even know the exact details, but they were also part of organizing the trip together. Anyway, it's very, very strange, dude. You can't pay for this kind of publicity, fam. Okay, guys, I'll be honest. I prefer not to have this publicity, okay? If you think that this is just like, it's good. I know some of you are looking for a silver lining in this situation, but this is not good, okay? There is no world where having to deal with like a federal case is actually a good moment. I would much rather not have to deal with this at all, okay? But yeah, that's where we're at.
Also, with the community speculated they took these photos to try and spread the shot caller shit, but it didn't pan out. Now they have so they sat on the photos for some other time. Yeah, no, totally. And like, one of the things that's really funny about this, like, obviously Hassan should take this deadly seriously. I probably wouldn't even comment on it at this point, because like, whenever you have any kind of law enforcement agency targeting you, you need to button the fuck up, because all government oppression is... Mike from PA is cooking on views. Am I? I think it's Memorial Day. I think we have a low viewership day. I mean, maybe I'm cooking relative to like Memorial Day, but Memorial Day is not exactly the highest viewership day. Everyone's out there sleeping in. People are touching grass. They're setting up for the fucking the barbecues. All right. Theft, corruption, treason. You guys remember when I made fun of him for his really bad takes about how he kept going like, that's not legal, that's not allowed, that's against the rules? Remember that? I don't know if I made a legal eagle video on my channel. Let's see if I did. Sometimes I tell my editors not to make videos where I'm really critical of other like left adjacent creators, because all that does is hurt you. People don't like when you criticize other people, unless you do this thing where it's like, I'm a big fan, but I think you're making a small mistake, sir. You're just so smart and sweet and good. Like if you don't do it that way, everybody gets up your ass with their parasocial bullshit, and they're too stupid to like actually make an argument. So I mean, Bad Empanada was not wrong about that. Can I make a legal eagle video? Oh!
So the question on everyone's mind is, can the government really just revoke permanent residency and deport someone for First Amendment protected speech?
One of my big criticisms of legal eagle is that fundamentally, if you're a lawyer, you're a liberal. These shorts do not do well, but it's all right. You have this kind of reverence for institutions. When I was in law school, I was like, oh yeah, this is vile. Like the main ambition of people in law school is to get hired by big law. You get paid a lot of money, but you're working for the most evil corporations on the planet. And how do people justify that to themselves? A good lawyer is not someone who seeks justice. A good lawyer is someone who zealously defends their client. Justice has nothing to do with it. It's a game, random character select. Today you're defending a pedophile. What can you do to win the game? Oh, today you're defending a oil and gas company poisoning 100 kids. And to them, that is justice, winning the game. Why is this system a good system? How does it help society for us not to find what the truth of the matter is, but rather to try to find legal, technical excuses to allow guilty people and guilty entities to avoid accountability for the harm they've caused? Anti-public defender? No, I'm anti this system that we have. You've got liberal brain. This is where people don't even understand the concept of like socialist legal theory. You know, it's one of my frustrations is like a lot of people don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. The way we do our system is not the only way you could do the system. Like you could have a collaborative legal system where we attempt to dispense justice, and that everybody has the duty to expose the truth, where everybody has the duty to expose the fact of the matter, where everybody on both sides, on all sides, has the duty to seek an equitable outcome. Like you could do that, but we have what's known as an adversarial legal system where each side is a team and you're trying to win for your team. And you have no duty to the other side except for very specific constructed duties that we could get into, but it's just going to confuse you. And duty, D-U-T-Y, chat. At least 12. Which is like, oh, Mike, you're against public defenders. No, I'm against an adversarial justice system. I'm against side A versus side B. And they're incentivized to have their side win. I'm against that. I think that's a bad system. I mean, you can't imagine an alternative. You can't imagine a system that seeks truth, reconciliation, and better outcomes for society. A system of truth seekers where everyone is involved and interested, where anybody can contribute, where we seek rehabilitative justice, not punitive justice. Like this is what socialist justice would be. Socialist legal system would be about achieving justice and remunerating harm and redressing grievances. It wouldn't be about one side trying to get a bonus for winning more cases. And I'm asking you to start thinking more radically and setting aside these liberal institutions that are not serving us. Yeah, but no one's even a socialist anymore. I mean, like, you know, it is what it is. I'm trying, you know, I do my best. But, you know, I'm only one guy, right? Like at the end of the day, I only have so much influence, right? And obviously a lot of people spend a lot of effort trashing me, you know, and I don't care. I just want people to talk about ideas, right? Like, but they don't want to because they're not equipped. They have their team and they want their team to win. So if I talk about ideas, well, now they're in trouble. They have to do a book report. They didn't read the book. And the problem with people like Liberal Eagle is they're not even that liberal. You know what I mean? Like, They have the ideology of the liberal establishment, right? They don't even have like good like soc dem beliefs. Like I proposed what was a socialist model of law, but there's like a soc dem model of law called legal realism. They don't even have this. They don't even have this fucking level of ideology. They've got literal, liberal establishment, corporate establishment propaganda. I once had a lawyer who was aging and had been a lawyer his whole life, and he was complaining about judges and how inept most of them are. I asked him why he didn't become a judge to bring the bar up a little. His response was kind of funny, even for this non-theist. He said, because I still believe in God and want to go to heaven when I die. There are no judges in heaven. That stuck with me, and it kept in mind every time the Supreme Court does some fucky-ass fascist bullshit. The American socialist isn't invented yet, but I think people like Central Committee and Richard Wolff are the closest you have. They think about contemporary application. Everybody else is decades behind, sometimes centuries. I mean, like, I appreciate the glaze, but like, the problem is like, why would anyone believe me? Why would anyone support me? It's ultimately social. I am bad at that. I'm not good enough on getting people to just follow me. Like I mean, maybe I'm not bad, but I'm certainly not talented at it. Like, you know, like I am too autistic. I am too abrasive. There's a lot of problems with me as like, you know, that's why I'm comfortable with like, hey, I'm happy to play a supporting role if I can get my ideas in there, because that's what I actually care about. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of good candidates. There's not a lot of like people I actually think have a fucking clue. How does medical malpractice work under that legal system? Basically, we do everything we can to restore that person to the best possible medical recovery, and then we would provide equitable compensation to make sure that they are brought to the position they would be had medical services been provided under like a medically sound standard of care. So if they missed work or they could no longer, they would get, you know, compensated to make up for that loss. How we compensate damages is different from how we find out damages occurred, right? I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say that I'm not even, you know what? We're not even, this will be, I decided we're not going to talk about this. We're going to talk about something else, because let me just finish this and we'll talk about it more. The problem is everybody is so, like, I need to get readings for certain topics. Like, I realize sometimes I feel like a college professor who's going in front of a room of people who don't even have the syllabus. And it's like lesson 10. There's like a certain level where it's too sophisticated for a stream. Because you haven't done any of the reading. I don't know where your foundations are, right? Like, you know how in college some classes will have prereqs? The reason why they have prereqs is because to even do the thing, they have to know that you're at least up to this level. To like talk about this thing, they need to know that you at least understand these like basic things. And unfortunately, streaming is not exactly a place where we can have prereqs. You know, I try my best to, that's why I try to give you guys some like good solid axioms or ideas of the stream that you can kind of pick up on and carry forward, right? One of them that I cut back to over, and I don't mind being repetitive. Hassan gets weird about being repetitive. I don't mind it. I don't like, because I really want you to learn legal realism, because this is a social democratic way of approaching law. Not a socialist way. I talked about that in the short, but it's at least like a more left-wing way than somebody like Legal Eagle. Legal Eagle tells you the liberal establishment way to approach law. So I'm trying to get you to like understand a slightly more left-wing way of approaching law, right? Which is legal realism. Legal realism is a legal theory predicated on the notion that all law derives from prevailing social interests and public policy, as opposed to purely formalistic legal considerations. And this is why Legal Eagle is crashing out. Legal Eagle is unable to see prevailing social interests and public policy. And what do they mean by that? They mean material basis for law, not formalistic legal considerations, not the rules, but rather who has power. That's what they mean by that. So the reason why the Supreme Court ruled against the Voting Rights Act is not because they were taking formal legal, they were just, moving around logics. They weren't going modus ponens, therefore the Voting Rights Act is invalid. No, they had outcomes on public policy, and they represent social interests, and they wanted those people to be advanced, their power to be advanced, because they're politicians in robes. That is why I was able to believe and understand that all these structures that Legal Eagle thought were going to stand up would fail.
This is the most flagrantly, staggeringly, obscenely corrupt thing that Trump has ever done in office. I have in my hand what purports to be the settlement of Trump's claims against the IRS for the disclosure of his tax agreements. That is a lie. That is a fraud on the American people. What Trump is doing here is creating an illegal fund of billions of dollars to pay out whomever he chooses, including and especially the traitors who breached the Capitol and tried to overturn the election to turn it over in Trump's favor. My blood is boiling. This is a new low for this administration. And this is an administration that has been rife with corruption and illegality, but this is probably the worst thing that they have done so far. Now, suffice to say, the president cannot take taxpayer money and give it to whomever he wants. But this unbelievably, ironically named anti-weaponization fund is exactly that. He's going to pay out his friends, his family, and domestic terrorists. And that's just who we know about. I'm frankly running out of adjectives. This is theft. This is corruption. This is treason. If he gets away with this, there are simply no more limits, at least with respect to what Trump can do with taxpayer money. If he can pay out billions with a B to his cronies without any real oversight, I don't know. Are we done as a country? At best, this is Orban-esque, but this is frankly verging into Putin territory. And of course, the corruption cherry on top of the corruption sundae is that Trump is personally ending and forbearing all audits and suits into his businesses and his family's finances. Oh, and the government is issuing him an apology as well. Wonderful. Now, we're talking about this as if it is a legal settlement to the claims that he had against the government that he has control over. But it is not. This is not a settlement. This has about as much to do with a legal settlement as a shoehorn has to do with a French horn. I'm reluctant to even talk about the legalities or the legal aspects of this because there's nothing legal about this. There was no process.
Okay, there's nothing legal about this. What does that mean? I hate to get philosophical here, but what does that fucking mean? I think one of the problems is like politics presumes all sorts of things that are not rules of nature, right? They are contingent social relations. And this is why philosophy and political science and like other forms of and sociology and things are necessary if you're going to do politics or law. And I think the best way to describe this, are you guys familiar with the concept of norms? Like we joke about norms all the time, but norms are really just accepted social behaviors and contingencies, right? And the reason why he's crashing out is because those norms are being violated. Norms or normal expectations of behavior, right? Those norms are being violated. Now, when norms are violated, two things can occur. One, a social consequence, or two, the norms change. So the norms have been habitually violated by the Trump administration, both in this administration and the first administration, and there has been no consequence. In fact, the consequence has been advantage Trump and his supporting interests. The more they violate the norms, the more they violate the spirit of the law, the more rewards they get. This entire example of the what he's calling corrupt is procedures being abused for Trump's personal advantage and the advantage of his closest allies. So what's the consequence? There is no consequence because the system is functioning within the new norm. The Democrats are not capable or willing to say anything here, really, or do anything. They lack the power, right? Now, Donald Trump has property in New York State. Democrats have a trifecta in New York State. They could impound any property within New York State as a violation of their they could use state power in the states they control to impound Trump's property up to and including 1.6 billion. But these ideas don't even spring to mind because they have lost the ability to exercise consequence because they worry that if they were to do something like that, if they were to betray the norms, and in fact that it would cause an escalation. They have a child's idea of how the world works. Would so like Legal Eagle ever agree with you, or is he so indoctrinated that he's lost the sauce? Legal Eagle would agree with me if he became radicalized. Now we use that word, but it has a meaning. Like I'm using the word radicalized in the sense that it actually means, right? Which means the process to make radical, especially in politics. What does radical mean? Radical means associated with political views, practices, and policies of extreme change. We would need a radical change in order to enforce the norms. We would have to have a radical change in our norms. We've never had a former president that we decided needed to be executed or put into prison. We have never decided to thoroughly go after one of the major political parties as anti-democratic at its root. We have never thought about attacking and arresting senior members of, you know, Wall Street firms or corporations. Like we need to have extreme change. I might even like Google's definition of radical better. Believing or expressing the belief that there should be great or extreme social or political change. This is a desperate situation that requires a truly radical solution. So people use radical almost as a pejorative, but in radical times, you need radical responses. And unfortunately, people like Legal Eagle, until he's ready to embrace the fact that the Constitution of the United States of America is no longer fit for purpose. The Constitution of the United States of America had a lot of positive things about it. And the history of human development, we could say the United States Constitution was a step forward in a lot of ways. But it is also profoundly reactionary and profoundly resistant to democratic norms. It's gotta go. And that means ripping up everything that you studied to get a law degree. Your law degree will be studying a legal system that we need to abolish. When he's there, then he'll be no longer a liberal, right? And there are plenty of lawyers that are there. You can understand the current system while at the same time advocate for its complete abolition and reform. Our problem is that there are things that we could do within our system that would be radical, right? That would represent a complete break from the past. Hacking the Supreme Court, term limits, disempowering the United States Senate, proportional representation, banning gerrymander, multi-member districts, popular vote for president, no electoral college. There are things that we could do that would change the nature of the American system in fundamental ways. If you're so addicted to the idea of having a president or whatever the fuck, we could do all sorts of things, right? But unfortunately, the Constitution has been gamed. The oligarchs know how to abuse it. The oligarchs know how to fiddle with it. They know how to game it. They know how to bribe it. They know how to pull it apart. They know how to work it to their will. It's anti-democratic. It's sclerotic. It's unresponsive. And until people are willing to accept that that is in large part because of our political system created by the Constitution is designed to be abused by an oligarchy, then we'll never get anywhere. And that's the problem with somebody like Legal Eagle is I don't think they're there yet.
Here, there was no judicial review. There was no decision by a fact finder or a jury. This is simply Trump taking power and paying it out to whomever he wants to. That being said, the fig leaf that they are using to cover up their own manifest corruption and illegality is that this was related to a demand that Trump had for $10 billion related to the 2020 disclosure of his tax returns by a contractor at the IRS. Now, we are in the process of writing and filming a video that goes into much more detail about the legal aspects and really more relevant here, the illegal aspects of what's happening. That's going to come out in a few days. But suffice to say, Trump's suit was unbelievably bogus. Again, you can sue anyone for anything and claim that you're entitled to however much money you want. But in that case, in the best of circumstances, a disclosure of those kinds of tax returns would be limited to $1,000 per disclosure. And the statute of limitations is 2 years, which has long since elapsed. Oh, and by the way, the president who was in control of the IRS at the time that those tax returns were disclosed was President Trump himself. Oh, and the irony here is that yes, while...
So, by the way, is it illegal for the president to sue while he's president? No, that's in no law. There's no provision of the Constitution. There's no law that says the president can't sue the federal government. So Donald Trump is operating within the legal bounds of the system. Now, you could say that it's violating our democratic norms. You could say that it's violating ethical norms, but it doesn't matter. There is no mechanism to enforce those norms because, and why is there no mechanism to enforce the norms? This is what's very important, because the Republican Party is an anti-democratic party. The entire Republican Party, every single elected Republican at every level of office is formally a fascist. They don't care about democratic norms. They don't consider Democrats to be legitimate. They don't believe that Donald Trump should be contained. The problem that we have is there is a failure to recognize that reality. Now, could we fix that? I don't fucking know. I mean, I'm willing to try. There's a contraption they invented in France that I'd like to operate. It's an elevator on the Eiffel Tower. It'd be fun. I don't know what contraption that you're thinking of. Have you guys been to the top of the Eiffel Tower? I have. Can you fix an unfixable problem? Of course. You just have to reestablish consequences. There's a game called that I show all the time on here called The Evolution of Trust. And if you want trust back, which is what we're really asking for, if you want trust back, people have to suffer consequences for betraying trust. They have to lose the game. That means prison. That means losing their money that they stole. That means I want a feeling of fear to pervade those that committed corruption. Are the Democrats willing to do that? Are the Democrats willing to crack skulls of the Republican Party? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Leaking tax returns is illegal. The only reason the American people didn't already have Trump's tax returns is that he refused to turn them over like every single other presidential candidate does as a matter of course when they run.
Because that's a norm, my friend, not a law. That's a norm. And Donald Trump said, fuck your norms. And the American people didn't care, at least not enough to defeat him.
For president. And of course, which he pledged to eventually release and never did. But he was probably withholding them because he was looking down the barrel of hundreds of millions of dollars of fines related to his tax crimes, including double dipping. Crimes which he has now given himself immunity. And those crimes and the tax crimes of his family members and businesses were not even part of his suit against the IRS. He's just throwing them in because why not? The New York Times is reporting that the IRS actually issued a 20-page report on how bogus this suit was. This suit was a joke, and frankly, on this channel, we treated it as such because it was so stupid and so brazen. And frankly, we thought the worst that was going to come from it was that it was just going to be tossed out of court and it was going to waste taxpayer resources. My God, how wrong we were. But what became legitimately interesting is that the judge in that case realized that there was a problem. Trump was not only the plaintiff in this case, but also the defendant. He controlled the IRS and the Department of Justice. And so the judge appointed what are called amici to discuss whether there was something called a case in controversy. You can't just sue yourself. You can't collude with a friend to sue over something and get a payout when there's no real controversy and there's no adversity. And the judge correctly realized that. And because the Trump Department of Justice couldn't be trusted to actually defend that suit, they appointed an amici to discuss that particular issue. Oh, and by the way, the entire lodestone of right-wing judicial theory right now rests on what's called the unitary executive theory, which purports that there is no distinction between the president and anyone in the executive branch, which even by that particular theory meant that Trump was suing himself and absolutely could not have recovered from the public coffers from his bogus BS case. But the fact that Trump
yeah, but the problem that you're saying is that is an ethical lapse, right? That's a gap between Trump as an individual and Trump as the office holder decision maker. Now, any ethical system will understand that there's a lot. Anytime you have somebody who's talking about their own decision, their own case, they should not be involved. But they're anti-democratic norms. They don't care. The Republicans don't care what is wrong or right. They care about what they can get away with. I'll say that again. They only care about what they can get away with, not what's right or wrong. So you can't let them get away with it. Well, how do you not let them get away with it? The answer is naked force. Consequences. They are disgusting, self-interested sociopaths. How do you make a sociopath operate pro-socially? You punish antisocial behavior so fucking thoroughly that they calculate that acting antisocial is bad for me. So I don't do that because I'll get caught and I'll be fucked up.
Dude himself as the sitting president is a scandal in and of itself. The fact that the interim head of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, is Trump's personal lawyer who should have been conflicted out of that position, that is a scandal. The fact that we even got to this point alone shows us how low the bar has gotten. Trump's lawsuit had about as much legal basis as your average sovereign citizen nonsense who claims that they can drive a car without a license or isn't required to pay taxes. As you can tell, I'm angry. And what's worse is that right-wing news sources are simply ignoring this because it is absolutely indefensible. But honestly, I don't think people understand how bad this really is. This settlement creates a slush fund that will be controlled by a 5-member board, which of course is appointed by Trump. He can add or remove members as he sees fit. There will effectively be no oversight whatsoever. And by the terms of this settlement, they can basically choose to hand out money to whomever they want under whatever criteria they want. And you can bet that they will pay out whoever Trump wants. There are no real guardrails here. This is pure patronage for a king. The language allows the board to pay whoever they want. They can pay Trump if he wants to, under any criteria. But make no mistake, President Trump is raping the public treasury for his own gratification. And this slush fund agreement, it's a troll. It purports to claim that Trump is not being paid out. But if you give someone an account with billions of dollars in it and they have control as to how it's paid, even if that account isn't in their name, if they have sole control over it, it's their money. And that's exactly what they've done here. Now, we don't know exactly who will be compensated. I mean, it's not even compensation. Bribed? But we do know for sure that it will include some or all of the January 6ers, the terrorists who tried to overthrow the government. Of course, they were pardoned, and that is an unfathomable scandal alone, but effectively what this committee is going to do is they are going to pay out the people who tried to overthrow the government to put Trump in power. These are convicted criminals. The fact that they were later pardoned by Trump doesn't change the fact that these are treasonous pieces of excrement who tried to stab our democracy in its heart. Trump has already paid out millions of dollars to traitors like Michael Flynn, who filed another bogus lawsuit. But this doesn't even require people to file a lawsuit. You can bet that some or all of the people who invaded the Capitol on January 6th are going to get massive paydays. Now, in a press release, Todd Blanche said that the settlement fund was going to include 1.776
chat, we've got ourselves a Belgian waffle with whipped butter. Wow. The VO Queen. Thank you, VO. Nice. This is unfair. True. Chat, I just want all of you to have what I have. You know, like that's the world I'm trying to create. That's the world that Hassad is trying to create. We're trying to give you guys what we have. And people are like, you're an asshole for wanting to give the world what you have. And I'm like, you heard it here, Mike. You heard it here. Mike's buying everyone waffles. That's not what I have. What I have is I want you to have your own person bringing you waffles one day. I don't want to be 5'9". Yeah. You can be taller than me. It's okay.
$26 billion to pay out whomever this committee wants. And of course, everyone in the media breathlessly reported that as the number, approximately $1.8 billion with a B dollars to convicted criminals, among other people that Trump wants to give patronage to. But here's the thing. Nowhere in this settlement does it mention that dollar amount. And the particular fund that they're pulling from, one of the DOJ's settlement funds, is an ongoing appropriation, but there's not necessarily a limit. And certainly there is no limit in this settlement agreement that limits them to $1.8 billion. And like I said, the terms are so ambiguous that they can pay out whoever they want. $1 billion for Don Jr.? Sure, he was targeted by lawfare. $500 million for election tampering Tina Peters? Great, she was pardoned. $10 billion for the Republican National Convention? Of course. $1 billion for rebuilding Trump Tower? Why not? Of course, Obama did something that requires remuneration. $800 million for Russian hackers? Absolutely, step right up and get the money. Just make up a claim that says you were targeted by some past administration. There is absolutely no real criteria that is enforceable, and it's just going to be whatever Trump wants and whomever Trump wants to give money to. He's going to pay some of the people who invaded the Capitol and tried to turn the election in his favor, and he might be prepaying the next people. He could say, hey, as long as you use this money to go buy a bunch of AR-15s and be in Washington next January 6th, great, go out and do it. As if pardoning the people who committed crimes for Trump's benefit weren't bad enough, now he's going to pay people to do it in the future. I simply do not have words for this. These people are brown shirts. They are Nazis. They are Trump's personal Praetorian Guard.
Okay, I agree with completely. What's justified? I think this is where even you have to go beyond me or Legal Eagle. I agree with him that they are Nazis. They are fascists, and this is a I agree with him completely. But to go beyond that, all that can happen is I fall silent and I peepo smile. And there's nothing more I can do. Because the moment that Legal Eagle or myself go beyond peepo smile, then we will be targeted. And that is the kind of crisis we're in, is because we need legitimate institutional backing for this kind of fight. We can't, as individuals, carry it forward. I know anarchists, I know you want to say that individuals can do big things, and collectively they can. But we need institutional backing from state level government. We need like California to say we back you up. We need New York to say we back you up, right? We can't do this as individuals. We need actual power. And right now, I mean, there's no desire for that whatsoever. There's just they can't even complain on Twitter.
And now they get taxpayer funding. Congratulations. And even if it were limited just to $1.8 billion, that is a staggering amount of money. With that, you could fund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and Voice of America and still have enough left over to fully fund the National Endowment for the Arts. I think it's hard for lay people to grasp just how much money a single $1 billion, let alone 1.8 billion, let alone an unlimited amount of money that is not defined in the settlement agreement. And this was always the plan. They have been discussing a payout for the January 6ers for over a year. They just happened to use this as a vehicle for maximum secrecy and a fig leaf of a legal process. Under the terms of this agreement, all of this will be confidential. There will be no accountability to the American people. We will not know who gets this money if this is allowed to go through. We won't know how much money they get. At most, there will be a report given to Todd Blanche as the acting head of the Department of Justice, but he is not bound, nor do I ever expect that he would release any of those reports in the future. And of course, this whole commission expires right before the next president takes power. I mean, I probably don't need to tell you that all of this is flagrantly illegal. The general counsel for the U.S. Treasury, who was appointed by Trump and confirmed by a Republican Senate, resigned as a result of this incredible document of corruption. But yes, I will make the obvious point. This is illegal. This kind of action would require an appropriation from Congress.
I mean, like, honestly, no, he's completely right. Like, I'm not trying to bust up Legal too much. He is right. And I like Legal. But I'm sorry. Liberalism has fallen. Liberalism has fallen. Liberal norms have failed. That's what I mean when I say liberalism has fallen. The hegemonic liberalism that we all grew up in, it's gone. And you have a choice before you. It is socialism or it is barbarism. And we don't have a lot of time to operate. We need our sympathizers in power in the American state immediately. That's why I'm saying vote, because that is the only presumably plausible way of us seizing state power in the immediate short term. You need to vote for socialists. And they may not be socialist enough for you. They aren't for me, but at least they're sympathetic to us and they're going to hesitate before they use the state against us. That is the environment we need. We cannot survive under panopticon drone hell. Have you talked to Chad about the BS with HUD changing allowances for vets, disabled folks with emotional support animals being allowed to rent HUD-approved housing? It's absolutely insane. I have not seen that story yet.
Obviously does not have the Anti-Deficiency Act, which we've talked about a lot. And
Vote for socialists, like, listen, I'm also voting for random sock dems. Joycott, he actually wants to do a national Tea Party, even though he's a sock dem instead of a Democratic Socialist. Fine, good, Joycott then. Because he understands the stakes. And he's out there supporting other left-wing challengers, which is what's important. Chris Robb, he won, and now he's out there campaigning for more people. That's what I want. Sometimes we'll be voting for class traitors. Sometimes we'll be voting for cringe lords. Who gives a fuck? It's about creating the conditions that are the best for us.
Trump has violated.
And we have to bring over people like Legal Eagle.
Uncounted number of times makes it a felony to dole out money that has not been appropriated by Congress. And no, I don't believe that the appropriation of the Department of Justice covers what they are trying to do with this document. But let me put this on record to anyone who might be working in the government, who might be tempted to follow through with this settlement. Providing any funds as a result of this settlement is a felony, and every single person involved in the distribution of those funds can and should go to jail as a result. And in fact, on behalf of the American people, I think we need to demand of the next Congress that that should be a pledge of every single member of Congress, that they will put anyone in the executive branch who had a hand in this, that they go to jail. This is honestly 10 times worse than Watergate. French aristocrat.
He's so right. He's completely right. He's completely right. I'm so happy. He's becoming radical eagle, slowly but surely. He's still holding on to his liberalism. He's still kind of grabbing onto his emotional support law, right? He's going like, it's actually a felony. Actually, it's a felony. You know what felonies are, chat? They are when the prosecutors exercise discretion. and decide to enforce. That's what a felony actually happens. It's not you broke some rule or my interpretation of you breaking the rules. That shit doesn't matter until it's actually enforced. And what he's saying is, and it's radical, enforce these laws against rich Republicans. And in my experience, there's never been a Democrat that said that. So you need a radical change in the Republicans and a radical change in the Democrats. So I welcome you, Radical Eagle, as long as you recognize that we need a different type of politician.
Democrats found their necks in a guillotine for far less than this. This is not hyperbole. It's really this.
I'll let him repeat himself.
They go to jail. This is honestly 10 times worse than Watergate. French aristocrats found their necks in a guillotine for far less than this. This is not hyperbole. It's really this bad. We should all be in the streets on this one. I just don't know what else to say. I hope you're angry, because I certainly am.
Unbelievably fucking based. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't convert him, but he has been converted. 1.2 million views. You know things are bad when a lawyer doesn't use allegedly once. French aristocrats found their necks in a guillotine for far less than this. I mean, now that's what I call hyperbole. That's good. Raping the treasury for his own gratification. I mean, of course it is. If you elect a criminal, you get crime. This is not rocket science. The only reason Donald Trump was able to be elected because the Democratic Party would not stop committing crimes of their own, namely genocide. To quote CoffeeZilla, crime is now legal as long as you're politically connected. This makes Watergate look like the cashier accidentally giving you extra penny and you not giving it back. So what I'm hearing is the lower 50% of the country should stop paying taxes immediately. I mean, listen, remember when they opposed student loan forgiveness? Yeah. How is this bastard still in office? This is actually a question I hear a lot, which is, why is nothing changing? Why? It's because, and I hate to sound like a nerd here, because this is how politics in America, we have scheduled elections and people are elected for terms of office. And in most federal offices, there is no recall provision. So once somebody wins, and the snapshot of that is the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, we have those elections and you get elected for terms of office every 4 years for president. Everybody in the entire country could hate your fucking guts, but you remain president for that term unless there is an impeachment for high crimes and misdemeanors in the House, which then goes to the Senate, which requires a 2/3 majority, 67 votes to remove. All right. That's why he's still in office. And I say it like that because that's the only way to change it, unless some other extra legal means occurs. You are not. So stop asking yourself, how is this bastard still in office? He won in November, first Tuesday after the first Monday in 2024. It is 2026. We have linear time. So what can we actually do? What can we actually do about it? The answer is take back power in the legislative branch and start reining him in. And then get behind our socialist candidate for president, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is the action plan. This is the only plan. That's it. If you have gripes with it, too fucking bad. I don't know what else to tell you. Why doesn't the ESA have rifle recreation clubs? The main reason is that people are concerned about the organization's integrity, and they're trying to keep themselves scrupulously in the pro-legal side of the law, right? That's why. They're trying to avoid being labeled as a violent terrorist org. You want to see me with Jeed going head-to-head over AOC's presidency? It would be governed all over maximal social liberalism, alienating blue collar. First of all, that's just... She could also offset that with her VP. Maybe a famous trade unionist by the name of Sean Fain. Or some other white man, blue collar guy. Okay? Like, she could offset that in different ways. All right? Like, it's not just her. And by the way, the idea is Jade, who is... I don't know how else to put this, but... He wants a South Asian to be president, specifically Ro Khanna. And it's a kind of like racial solidarity. It's very uncomfortable to point out, but he thinks like Ro Khanna is super electable and AOC is super unelectable. And I think that's fucking weird. It's very weird. And it's very uncomfortable to point out, but I don't know what else to say. Like, Ro Khanna is not a good candidate for president. And I don't even hate Ro. But if you're going to try to run against AOC, I'm going to absolutely pants you, man. I'm gonna absolutely pants Ro Khanna fans. If you guys, you know, try to have that fucking dipshit run, I'm going to spend my time making fun of him. It sucks Hillary and Kamala lost. I voted for both. AOC equals Trump Jr. next president. The difference between AOC and Hillary and Kamala is AOC actually wants to have change. And people would be excited about her, especially young people. She's not a fucking boomer conservative or Gen X conservative who's scared shitless of their own shadow. Now, if she runs like them, she would lose. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she hasn't decided whether to run for president, but the New York Congresswoman is making new moves toward a possible White House bid. She had launched a national tour in recent weeks without calling it one. Whether AOC jumps into the race is one of the biggest X factors in the 2028 Democratic primary. Democratic operatives expect she would easily raise $100 million from small dollar donations, mobilize many supporters of Bernie Sanders' past campaigns, and command attention few other candidates could. That's all true. And there's nobody else on the left who could do that. And I know that a lot of people, you know, they get mad at me for saying that, but I'm sorry. What do you want? I'm just early. This is another example of Mike just being too early. And a year from now, everything I'm saying now will be completely obvious. And everybody will be like, oh, it was always obvious AOC was going to run. Oh, what do you mean, Mike? You were right. What do you mean? I don't care. It was always obvious she was going to be able to run. And she's been way more based lately. So nobody will give me credit, right? I'll just eat shit for being right early. And then later, when she's on a primary debate stage and she's saying, Gavin Newsom supported a genocide. He's a fucking scumbag. You know, blah, 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 blah. You all be like, oh my God, she became so based. Oh my God, she's so based. Well, it's not happening because there's no debate now. And there's no reason that Gavin Newsom would stand next to AOC and yell at her because that would be bad for him. So he's not doing it because there's no reason to do it right now. But in the future, when he's trying to run for president, he'll have to. So I can see the future. And it doesn't take a lot of intellect to figure it out. Obligatory. And she'll be like, we shouldn't give any money to Israel. No more money for wars. Blah, blah, blah. People will be like, yeah, based. Yeah, based. Oh my God, AOC became based. What happened? Like, that's what's going to happen. Because, again, they'll be able to react to viral clips and get likes and followers, et cetera, et cetera. But now, the only way to get likes and followers from AOC is dogging on her. So they're doing that. So I'm just going to wait for the material conditions to change. And I'm going to tell, by the way, this is another certified Mike prediction that you'll be able to test and see if it's true or not. Well, I guess. Just in May, Ocasio-Cortez has rallied voters in Philadelphia for a left-wing congressional candidate in a competitive primary who won. Spoken at a rally at Montgomery. By the way, her support was a key factor. And I can't wait for her to endorse in Abdul's primary. Oh! When Abdul gets the AOC endorsement. Oh! It's going to be so funny. Mike, I can also see the future. I can tell you AOC's shitty political instincts are going to derail her chances. She will do a Liz Warren genetic test because someone bullied her online. I don't want it to be true, but it is. Nah. That's just you being a dickless coward. Which, with all due respect, I know that you aren't. You're just protecting your ego because you were hurt. You were hurt because Bernie Sanders, you really wanted Bernie to win and he didn't win. And it really made you feel bad. And you remember how disappointed you were. And you don't ever want to feel that way again. Grow up. Bitch maiden loser. Bernie lost. And next. I think it's because I lost an election that I ran for that it has made me realize that, you know, sometimes you just lose because conditions are bad. It is what it is. Bernie Sanders, it wasn't quite ripe yet. It was close, but the Democratic base hadn't fully become disgusted with the Democratic Party establishment. They still kind of trusted it. They hadn't become fully disgusted with the establishment yet, and now they have. So the conditions are even better. Our movement is even more mature. We would have never been able to win a fucking competitive primary in Philadelphia 6 years ago. We would have never elected Chris Robb 6 years ago. Our movement has become so advanced that he's now getting a big chunk of the black vote is for our candidates. Like, we are making gains. We are in better conditions than we were in the past. There's no reason to be a fucking loser about it and be such a pessimistic bitch. And by the way, all the anti-AOC socialists, sometimes I'll DM them and be like, what is your plan, man? I'm just curious, what's your plan? And none of them have a fucking plan. And when I'm like, oh, okay, here's my plan, and I explain it, and I go, listen, I don't think AOC is going to be the fucking socialist who brings in socialism around the world, but she'll create space for us. She will defeat our enemies just by existing. She will give space for socialist movements around the world to blossom and bloom. Social democratic and socialist movements in this global south will have a lot more space because she won't be fucking smashing them as so thoroughly as Trump has been. So it's about that. And yeah, and she'll get us some concessions. And if she brings America home from the Middle East or even reduces it partially, that'll be a huge gain for the pro-Palestinian movement in the Middle East. Be a huge gain for all sorts of liberation movements. That's what I'm focused on, because the American state is the #1 oppressor and enforcer of capitalism around the world. So if it's constrained even marginally, it's a huge gain. Like, that is the reason why. And a lot of people are like, well, she'll lose because she'll be unpopular like Elizabeth Warren. And that could happen. You're absolutely right. Maybe we won't succeed. Maybe AOC will fail. Maybe we'll end up with Gavin Newsom or some other horrible lib. If that ends up happening, that would suck. That would fucking suck. I would be really sad. I would have I'd be sitting on the couch that election. But why are you surrendering already? I see Chris Rabshire. Keep calling him Rob. I can't. Rapture. Okay. Chris Rabb, he won that election in a fucking landslide. Who's thought he was going to win by 15? I didn't think he was going to win by 15. But I thought they were going to underestimate his polling, because they've underestimated left-wing polling in primaries consistently. All throughout this primary, left-wingers have outperformed their polls. And that's a sign of our movement winning. Our main problem is we don't have enough candidates. Our main problem is we're not organized enough. That's the crisis we're in. We need stronger coordination. I need to help more candidates. Hassan needs to help more candidates. DSA has got to be recruiting more candidates. We need to be operating in a more consistent way. We need to build institutions. We need people. Here's what I envision. Let me tell you what I envision for the left. I want us to have a permanent campaign structured around groups like DSA that has at every single district in this country. We will have a organized group of volunteers and local committee men and local political. I want you to be the ward leader of your local. I want you to be the guy in your neighborhood that people know, oh, that's the politics guy. That's my local socialist. I want you to be the cadre of your own fucking street. And when we run candidates, I want you to rise up and have 10 people you can call to go knock doors. I want a permanent structure that persists from campaign to campaign and continues to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and is outside the Democratic Party machinery. And that way we can politically and electorally and policy vet every candidate we run. I want us to have a bench of people in local offices and state offices ready to jump up and be credible candidates. I want us to build our socialist machine. I don't want to just kill their machine. I want to make our machine a socialist machine that takes up the space that their corpse has filled in. PDX DSA just got a socialist cadre candidate elected to the state Congress. We knocked 37,000 doors. Exactly. And by the way, chat, I just got a gift. Ryan Clancy, a socialist, not open to the public. No entry without a judicial warrant. Our anti-ICE state. Ryan has sent me a whole bunch of shirts. Wisconsin Legislative Socialist. I just got this gift. Care package. All right, I can't see the box. Let me put the box down. I can actually show this. This is Alex Peretti. Everybody thanks Ryan. Thank Ryan. Hell yeah, brother. Ryan Clancy, one of our sewer socialists from Wisconsin, the state rep, he said, Mike, he wrote this 5 days ago. So I spent April in Saipan doing typhoon disaster relief work. It was difficult and sometimes overwhelming, and I found myself grateful that when I could find Wi-Fi, that I was able to access your stream and VODs. You kept me grounded and focused on what the stakes are in this struggle, and I know you're doing the same for thousands of others. Thank you. As I headed to another contentious primary against a well-funded moderate, I'm grateful to have the support of you and the folks who tune in. It looks like we may have not only the first socialist governor in U.S. history, but a trifecta able to back Fran up. Would love to join you to talk about what that looks like. Thanks for all you do. P.S. The buttons are from the folks Revolution Rab in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Remind me to tell you about the radical revolutionary BIX. We'll do, Ryan. So we're going to have Ryan back on, of course. We're going to have Fran back on, of course. When is their primary? When is the Wisconsin primary? Oh, they're late. They're late. They got August 11th. That's late. They got a while yet. They're like one of the last ones. Holy shit, we just got a 50 bomb from Green Bass Guy. Hell yeah. Chat, if you enjoy this content, please consider supporting it by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach it to your Twitch account. I am only supported by you guys. Green Bass Guy, thank you so much. Green Base Guy. I keep saying Bass. Green Base Guy, not Bass. Green Base. I remember how you have a base. It's not the fish. It's the instrument. Because bass are green. I'm sorry, I think it's a fish. Thank you so much for the 50 Bob. What do you think is the most righteous cause in the world today? I think all these causes are interlinked. I'm gonna move this because I'm getting syrup on everything. So what was I saying? If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting it, because the only way it can exist is by your subscriptions. Because there is no billionaire propping me up. Law school, it doesn't know the difference between a long and a short A. Of course I do. It's contextual though. And the only way it's going to survive is if you guys support it. Now, I understand how annoying that is for me to shill every day, but it is the only way. Because once you start bringing in that outside money, it starts to constrain you. Start to become a dependent upon it. And then you start constraining your fucking, your strategies and your tactics and your analysis so that you could subtly appeal to, how are you doing? Get out of here. Don't eat tape. What are you doing? Sticks. Sticks is like eating the masking tape of the package, the packing tape. Anyway, don't yell at the kitties. I don't want them to eat plastic. Oh, the general's here. He's been feeling kind of sick lately, chat. I'm done subbing because you did do sussy today. Listen here. I didn't want to talk about Hassan getting subpoenaed in a sussy. I still owe you the sussy though. They heard a box, they've been summoned. Yeah, they want to go in the box. So anyway, DJ Hugboss, thank you for the gifted subs. C Madrid, Veridactical, Misanthropic Leftist, thank you as well. And Green Base Guy, thank you for the 50 subs. Why do we have no hype train? Do we have one? Did we have one or something and I missed it? Feels like it should have been going. Am I crazy? Cats need a varied diet. If humans consume plastic, so should the cats. So true.
You talked about trans people. I'm totally in favor of trans athletes in high school. I think when you understand the vulnerability, the stress, the danger of being a trans kid, and you understand that almost half of them try to commit suicide.
Mike, your chat is very mad about my response to your comment about AOC's chances, and I'd love for you to clarify. I don't think everybody... Hutch going off on Central Committee right now. Bald loser. Send me the link. I would love to make fun of Hutch. He's one of the most dickless streamers I've ever seen with no fans. Yay! Yay! Anyway, I think Tom Steyer would be a fine governor compared to the alternative. I don't think he's particularly charismatic, but who gives a shit? If he's in office, then he's very likely to want to support other people that are going to be more aligned with his positions. And his narcissism could be used for our gain. So I'm okay with that. That being said, it's only because the alternatives suck. But you should still vote for Tom Steyer. I mean, it's pretty clear he's the best candidate in that election. There's a bunch of socialists, but they kind of fucked up, and they don't seem like they have a very good campaigns. And they spent a lot of their campaign complaining. Okay, I can't wait to see the watch.
In Austria, Hungary were the first to implement it on April 30th, 1916 during World War I as a fuel conservation measure.
Wait, is he trying to is he going on AI? What did he say? What's this about? What is he trying to say?
Is actually a good moment. I would much rather not have to deal with this at all. Okay. But yeah, austerity stuff says them leaders need to speak out against this gross dictatorial abuse of power and the law to chill dissent. And I'm not talking simply progressives. Yeah, hopefully. The TMZ moms thinks it's because you had Elon's baby mama on. They see on your side. Yeah. But yeah, that's where we're at. Problem is the Dem leadership hates the left.
Oh my God. Is this all he does? Is this all he does? He doesn't even have commentary. Where's the commentary? Does he ever talk?
Yeah, but this is one of those moments where they actually do have to say something because they understand that. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Because guess what? While this is happening, Face the Nation had Josh Gottheimer on alongside Mike Lawler to talk about how there's a condemnation bill on me. That's what happened a couple hours ago. CBS News Face the Nation looked at a situation where this right-wing fascist government is engaging in unprecedented actions against the First Amendment and decided to bring on...
All right, I think we're going to move on to another video here. Here's Mike from PA talking about why...
Why is he so fucking worthless? Why is he so fucking worthless? So is this the DGG orbiter stream? Is that the pathetic orbiter? Is that it? I'm going to move on? That's your commentary?
Destiny should not be unbanned.
Apparently
this fucking guy.
Destiny should absolutely never be unbanned. He harassed Twitch staff and he spammed our advertisers so that political content doesn't have advertising on it, which doesn't hurt me. because you guys could support me. I have thousands and thousands of subs. All it does is it hurts people that have like a few hundred viewers, where, you know, say $500 to $1,000 in ads can really help make their channel financially viable. For me, it would just be more money, which of course I would take. I'm not against it. I'd happily take more money. But the point is that it didn't hurt me. It just hurt marginal people like yourself, Hutch, because you don't have enough organic support to actually have a channel. So the spamming of the advertisers hurt you, not me. By the way, if you ever see Hutch on Twitch, make sure that if he doesn't have the Twitch, oh, let me check that. Maybe he doesn't have that on. He doesn't allow banned people to see his streams. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna file a DMCA of his shit until I get unbanned. You're not allowed to commentate on my shit unless you're engaging in good faith. Now, listen. Obviously, you know, I could say that, but he's commentating on me, so let me listen to it.
I don't get it. Like I genuinely don't get Mike, like I don't get decaf coffee. Like I just don't understand it.
I think that's a really good analogy because he's so brain dead, and he's got the palate of a child, right? Like he's developmentally delayed. Part of what people like about coffee is bitter. Like bitter is a flavor that adults enjoy. Some people like Lafroig, you know, Scotch, because it has some of that smoky, some of that tar, some of that kind of like bitter undertones. They like it because they have a mature adult palate. They're not 12 years old. Coffee is much the same. They have those bitter notes that people like. They enjoy that. They like the coffee flavor. They're not just drinking it as a stimulant so they can lose harder in COD or whatever the fuck you're doing. You are a 12-year-old brain dead moron. And the fact that you can't understand the difference in preference is a sign of low intellect. You don't have the ability to have theory of mind. You are stupid.
What is... I don't get it. I don't understand what the appeal of Mike is. Like I just said, genuinely, so confusing.
Because I know more than you. I can make predictions correctly about the elections. For example, I bet you that Joe Biden wouldn't be reelected to president in 2021. $500. I bet you $1,000 that Donald Trump would not end up in prison after those trials. You lost those bets and you didn't pay them up. See, that's the problem, Hutch. People, they see that and they go, oh, Mike made predictions. He put money down and then you didn't pay the bets. You'd be down to take me up on $1,000 bet that Trump ends up incarcerated after all these trials. Basically, the bet was prison for Trump for 30 days or more before January 21st, 2025. You win the $1,000. If not, I win. So the bet is Biden wins the 2024 presidential election. If he does, you get 500. If not, I get 500. Assuming he runs against Trump, yeah, he's the incumbent. So if he's not president in 2025, I win the bet. I'll accept a $500 bet with those terms. Do you see those? You see how you were trying to like throw out like, oh man, I'm so sure that Donald Trump is going to go to prison and I'm so sure that Joe Biden's going to get reelected that I'm willing to put money up. Now, there's two parts to this. The first is he wants you to say, well, technically I didn't accept the bet because Mike is not showing you. I mean, I'm saying I accept the bet and you proposing the bet. So like I'm literally showing you proposing a bet and me accepting. With very clear terminology of the bet, but it's okay. Let's say that you didn't accept the bet. What about your level of certainty on the issues, Hutch? You thought that Donald Trump was going to end up in prison because you don't understand the legal system and you don't understand politics. I was able to tell you it's not going to happen. And here's $1,000 that says it's not going to happen. Well, guess what happened? I was right. You were wrong. You subnormal intellect. I told you that Joe Biden would lose the election November 7th, 2021. You subnormal intellect. Why was I able to tell you that? Because I understand. I understand, moron, that the first 100 days with a trifecta tells you exactly the maximum extent of a politician's legislative accomplishments. He's not going to do anything more radical after the first year. So when Joe Biden squandered the first year of his presidency, accomplishing fuck all, I knew he was toast. You are medically stupid. So I was able to say, American people want change. Joe Biden doesn't want to achieve change. Therefore, he will lose his election. And that's exactly what happened. But Mike, you don't understand. Hutch will have to sell his shirt. Like, well, he doesn't want to pay because he doesn't want to acknowledge that my analysis and predictions are better than him. He can't stand being he's less than me. He's dumber than me. He is a worthless commentator who knows nothing. It's an ego thing. I think even he could get together $1,500, right? Like, even he could do that.
You capitulated last year. Wait, what? What is this for?
I'm so glad Kamala Harris lost. Can I just say that? Can I just say, thank God Kamala Harris is not president of the United States? Can you imagine how dire things would be? I wasn't talking about, Jesus Christ. By the way, this is obviously, anytime you have a clip that's less than 30 seconds long for a streamer who streams 5 hours a day, you know it's bullshit. I was talking, by the way, and of course he brings it off the screen super fast. But just so you understand, I was specifically talking about, God, he brought it, it was so quick, it's gone so quickly.
Talking about why Destiny should not be unbanned. What the appeal, I genuinely,
what the fuck is this?
What the appeal of Mike, like I just said, genuinely so confusing.
I can't get it to go. But basically the point is that
you capitulated last year. Wait, what?
Oh, here we go.
What's this for?
Beautiful. Okay. A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. It's the Wired article. DNC hire influencer shills to spread propaganda secretly. I was talking about how dire the political space would be online if Kamala Harris had won. I was saying how unpopular the Democratic Party would be if Kamala Harris had won. She would have a 20% approval rating because they would have accomplished nothing because the Republicans would have controlled the Senate and probably the House. So there would be no politics happening. She would just be blamed for all the problems, and she has no fucking charisma. And she would have turned the Democratic Party influencer machine into nonstop Kamala Harris propaganda. That's what I was talking about. I was saying, thank God we have the ability to speak a different vision, you fucking worthless, out of context scum. I'm so glad Kamala Harris lost. Can I just say that? Can I just say, thank God Kamala Harris is not president of the United States? Can you imagine how dire things would be? That's what I was talking about.
I think Mike is more similar to Rush Limbaugh than Hassan is. I think Mike's whole thing is just being intentionally provocative.
Mike's whole thing is being intentionally provocative, and I show 2 examples where you tried to challenge me on specific predictions. I was completely right. You were completely wrong. Your counter argument is literally a lie, and he knows it's a lie. That's the whole thing. They're dishonest scum.
I think Hassan literally believes like most of the stuff that he says. I think Mike definitely puts like a 500% more pepper on his statements. It's his way of like sticking out, I guess.
So if you wonder what happened, yes. He's partially right. I'm way more mask on. My views are way far to the left of what I talk about every day because that's not really relevant to everyday politics, right? Like, I am a mask on. I think Hassan is very close to what his actual, politics are. Maybe he's more sympathetic, but I'm much more mask on. Like, my positions are far left, right? I want to expropriate the capital in this country. I want to take away all of Elon Musk's wealth. I want to take away all of Jeff Bezos's wealth. I want to take away all of Bill Gates' wealth, okay? Like, I don't want them to have $1, let alone $1 billion, right? However, you mean mask off? No, I'm mask on. That's not what I talk about day to day. I want to dismantle the American empire, right? So but that's not relevant to everyday politics. You know what I'm saying? So that's not something we talk about that much. Today, chat. Apparently, Destiny was unbanned for like 20 minutes. None of us noticed. And by the way, chat, I know what Hassan was doing in those texts. He was messaging me on Discord. You know what we were messaging about? The dicks on Zoran's stream. That's what we were messaging about. And he was like stressed because he doesn't want Zoran to look bad. That's literally it. I didn't even know Destiny was unbanned.
Listen, we all remember COVID. COVID was, your hair got a little messy. Couldn't go to the barber. But Mike just never, he's still in his COVID era with the way that he presents himself. Listen, I have some thoughts. I need to be a little careful here. I think somebody should nominate Mike for Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Or I guess it's just Queer Eye. I think somebody should nominate Mike. Because, there's a mold here. There's a canvas that Jonathan can work with here to create a look that...
I think one of the things that's really funny is, bro, you're so bald in your disgusting bald head. Like, we could see the grease. You don't even wash your head. Just stop talking about looks, man. It's so cringe when you and Destiny or Dan Salzman talk about looks. You guys are all you're all 4s. Just shut the fuck up and move on. I know Hassan is much sexier than all of us, but can you just move on, you fucking cue ball? You greasy cue ball.
Actually kind of works, But he's just like stuck in I am jealous of his hair. Yeah, that's true.
I didn't even know about that for like an hour later. You can go look at my Twitter. It's when I started laughing at the people and saying he's banned again. Because I didn't even know. You think I would have kept my mouth shut? All in all, people just invented shit. They invented it. I just want to, obviously no one's going to clip my shit and put it on LSF because LSF is specifically a Destiny Asmongold like toilet. I can tell you right now, Destiny will never be unbanned, okay? And
run a fucking brush through your hair. You're an adult, man.
If you have curly hair, which, if you have long curly hair, which is, not something that Hutch has, and he's also not dated enough women to know this, but you can't run brushes through curly hair. unless you're in the shower and the hair is extremely wet. Okay, so if you ever dated a woman with curly hair or had long hair, you would understand that's just not something that you can do. You are literally such a fucking incel. It's crazy.
It's like you're not in your 20s anymore. You can get away with this shit in your 20s, but run a fucking brush through your hair, bro. Knife Mall with $2. He needs to style himself like Inigo Montoya. Maybe.
The reason why Destiny won't be unbanned is because those are guys that are in a movie. They're in a movie. They're getting professional hair work done, and I do style my hair. I do deep condition my hair a couple times a week, and it have it really tight. Or if I'm going out somewhere, then I'll do that, right? But I'm not gonna do that every fucking day. What the hell's wrong with you? Who gives a shit? Will I straighten my hair? Absolutely not. He and Dan Saltzman organized a Twitch advertiser harassment campaign where they set up a website that would get automated emails sent to and spam to a bunch of Twitch staff and Twitch advertisers over.
I don't know if Destiny was involved in that at all. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a purely Dan thing.
Lies. They said that. Oh, guys, they're just podcast brothers. Destiny says Destiny had nothing to do with it, guys. Do you think everybody's fucking stupid? Do you think we're as dumb as you are? It was orchestrated through his subreddit, you dumb fuck. Through his Discord, not Dan's subreddit, not Dan's Discord. You're a dumb piece of shit. Destiny will ban you if you say he's stupid. But do you think he's going to allow a harassment campaign to run through his Discord? That's not his implicit approval. God, you're stupid. Twitch banned everyone from Israel. They just made it up. It was in the email. They're never going to get unbanned. Okay? Twitch does not have the habit of allowing streamers on their platform that do nothing but spam advertisers with slander and lies. They're just.
Wait, now I'm curious. Was Destiny involved in that website at all? Maybe he tweeted about it, but I don't know if he was involved in that.
Never going to get unbanned. They would have been unbanned by now if it wasn't for that. And you don't have to believe me. It's okay. You're allowed to, ask for proof. If you don't think I'm credible, then
why would Destiny be involved in something like that? Like, if he were to ever get unbanned with Twitch, why would he?
That's exactly right, you dumb fuck. They thought they were going to get Dan Saltzman fired because they went after the advertisers, and then they were going to have a new CEO come in, and that CEO would just bring Destiny back. It's your delusion. You're stupid. That's why you're fucked.
Advocate for a system that limits ad revenue for political streamers.
I'm not credible to you. That's fine by me. But I could just
ultimately amounted to that.
And they also harassed Twitch staff. They were looking for Hasanabi Twitch staff, and then Dan Saltzman leaked an internal post from the trusted safety team Slack. Now, I've never done anything like that. Hassan has never done anything like that. So apparently Dan Saltzman and Destiny had access to the trusted safety Slack. How did they do that? They must have had a member of Twitch staff that was feeding them inside information.
It's genuinely so wild. I can't even say
ooh, man. It's genuinely so wild. Is he gonna make an argument? Like, god damn, he's so stupid. He's so dumb. Jesus Christ. Like, how do you exist while you're this stupid? The world must be a scary fucking place if you're this dumb.
Race, but he referred to a group with 3 parentheses as being a demonic race. And it was just like a week-long ban. Was it even a week? And here's like a 30-minute rant about how Destiny shouldn't be unbanned.
So if anybody had... Okay, first of all, Destiny was banned multiple... Here's the thing about Destiny being banned. He had severe TOS. He would use F slurs. He used the N-word. He used anti-Asian slurs. He said that trans people are subhuman. He called for the mass killing of BLM protesters. Like, this guy didn't just have like one oopsie-doopsie daisy, man, where he misspoke and it was over a year old, like I did. And then I clarified it, and I specifically renounced anti-Semitism, and I have a video that you never watched where I talk about that on my YouTube. But I don't support the idea that Jews are demonic or something. I oppose Benjamin Netanyahu's settler colonial project of denying any kind of secular identity in Israel and forcing everybody to register by their race or religion, you fucking fascist. Influence in Twitch. It was Destiny. And, I don't normally care about LSF, but I do think that we should talk about this for a second. LSF making up insane lies over Hassan is...
Has the hobo in the screen paid you the $1,500? Mike from PA owes me $1,500, and he hasn't paid me yet. And it's, quite frankly...
I think what's really funny about this is it's like, he's trying to do this like counter lie to offset the fact that he was wrong about Donald Trump going to prison, and he was wrong about Joe Biden winning re-election. This is the level that we're talking about. Subnormal.
A searing indictment of his character. A Lannister always pays their debts. And
wait, you owe him money too? No.
You should pay up.
He just makes things. I say he owes me $1,500 because he lost 2 bets to me. And he says, no, Mike owes me 15. It's not based on anything. Notice how I showed you the bets? Where's the bet? Where's the reason I owe him money?
It's that I've covered this so many times on the stream, but we probably have some newcomers in the stream these days. So Mike has been claiming for like 2 years now that him and me made a bet, actually 2 bets. And I just never paid up on the bet. And when I ask him to show evidence, like this is the first screen that he shows. This is me reaching out to him because someone in my chat said that he would be, someone relayed to me, because this is before I blocked Mike and we had even had conversations on the screen.
He's looking at my screenshots. Okay, he's explaining the screenshots right now. Sorry, let me slow down. So he's so like he's been at 2x speed, but the amount of communication of ideas is so slow that nobody noticed. Okay, hold on.
like shortly before this. So I reached out to him, and I don't remember what is above this message here, but I basically said, someone said you'd be down to take me up on $1,000 bet that Trump ends up incarcerated after all these trials. And then he adds
now, unfortunately,
a qualifier and says basically the bet was prison for Trump for 30 days or more before the January 21st, 2025.
That's the swearing in date for a new president. In case you don't know, they get sworn in January 20th. That's the swearing in. Now, Hutch doesn't know anything about politics. I was saying Trump will not go to prison because he's running for president as the Republican frontrunner. And they cannot put a frontrunner for president of the major two parties in jail. They won't do that. So Donald Trump is not going to go to prison until at least after if he loses the election, then he might go to prison. But until the election happens, they're not going to dare put Donald Trump in prison, because that's how politics works and that's how the legal system works. He's too politically powerful to put into prison. So Hutch was spreading this like cope shit from the centrist libs that Donald Trump was going to go to prison. And I was saying, no, he fucking won't. The only way you can put Donald Trump in prison is to beat him politically first. That was my argument.
You win 1,000, if not I win. So he's changing the parameters of the bet. But notably, what you don't see is me accepting these new terms.
Unfortunately, these are the only screenshots I had because it's gone now. Because fucking Twitter deleted all the old conversations. These are all I have left. What more do I want? You've approached me and we set the terms and it's accepted. We had another bet going. Like what? Like, yes, he accepted them. What do you want me to say? You want me to have a huge picture?
He conveniently leaves out the rest of the exchange where we don't agree on terms and never make a bet. But
he's lying. He's absolutely fucking lying. I can't check because it's gone now. Because they've changed the DM fucking shit and Twitter's broken now. I don't fucking know. So I can't go back and look. That's why I made screenshots and posted them.
And they have this whole thing where he'll like, it's like a meme in their circles. I still get people spamming my replies. Pay Mike is $1,500.
Okay, notice that he's wrong though. Notice that this did not happen, right? Like $1,500, I could wipe my ass with $1,500, right? Like I'm not trying to flex or anything. But I could wipe my ass with $1,500. I don't care about $1,500 that much. I would go and donate it to fucking like a politician or something. I would donate it to the most radical left-wing politician in a primary against a centrist Democrat. Probably give it to Claire, right? And by the way, Hutch, if you donate $1,500 to Claire and you think she's a great candidate, then I'll consider our bet to be canceled. I don't want you to think it's any kind of straw donation, so you need to make that donation on your own terms. But if you can show me proof that you donated $1,500 to a DSA-endorsed candidate, I'll consider that wiping away our debt. You know what this looks like? You won't be able to talk for 24 hours.
And he's just like lying about it. He even pulled this DM thread up on his stream one time, and there was a blue arrow like down here, clearly indicating that the conversation kept going.
That's his evidence? His evidence is that we had more conversation?
And he was like, yeah, and that was the end of it. You know, he just never paid me. And then the other one is us explicitly disagreeing on terms. So this was a bet before then, a couple years before then. Mike wanted to bet that Biden wouldn't be president again for a second term.
Yeah, no shit. Like, isn't this ever enter their brain? Doesn't it ever enter their brain that they're never right? Like, doesn't that ever enter their brain where they're just wrong? Isn't there any kind of moment when they have a little bit of self-reflection where it's like, Mike was completely right and I was completely wrong? Like,
and so he publicly tweets, so the bet is Biden wins the 2024 presidential election. If he does, you get $500. If not, I get $500. And then I say, assuming he runs against Trump, yeah.
And he did run against Trump. He did run against Trump, but then he dropped out because, you know, he wasn't going to get the nomination at his DNC national convention and everybody wanted to drop out because he was going to fucking lose.
Assuming he's the nominee against Trump, yeah.
No, there's no nominee. You said he runs. That's not nominee. That's he runs. Running is when you announce that you are intending to run for president. That's a running for president. He raised millions of dollars and he won Democratic primaries running for president. He ran for president, you fucking liar.
And then he disagrees and says he's the incumbent. If he is not president in 2025, I win the bet. I'll accept a $500 bet with those terms. And then there's like no evidence of me accepting these terms because I didn't. And like
this guy was so confident that Biden would beat Trump, and then he didn't. He's such a fucking...
This is the evidence that he offers that I made a bet with him.
The Dan campaign wasn't that long ago, and Destiny has been banned for years. Mike is on crack. Yes, he would have probably been unbanned. But for Destiny attacking Twitch itself, he probably would have been unbanned. But they hate his ass now. You understand that they are human beings who are making discretionary decisions on who to unban, right? Like, you know, there's not a rule book that is actually applicable. It is who controls power at twitch.tv and who they decide they want to ban. That's how you determine who's getting banned. All the rules are a smokescreen, all right? And there are certain behaviors that you will definitely get banned for. But if you're allowed on this website, it's because they either don't care about what you're saying, or you're making enough money that they net out that it's good for you, that you're on the street, that it's good for you to be on the platform instead of somewhere else. They'd rather take the hundreds of thousands of dollars they've taken from me rather than have me go to, say, YouTube and try to build up my channel there. So they allow me to be here under heavily scrutinized rules because I make them a lot of money. But Destiny loses them money. And by attacking the website and the leadership of the website, they're exercising their discretion to say, fuck that guy. Because guess what? They own the platform and they can do that. Dumbass.
And didn't pay up. It's just so pathetic that a grown-ass man, is he older than me, is lying like this for, like, internet points. It's so fucking sad.
Either whether or not you think let's accept that Hutch, he weaseled out of taking the bets because he's a coward, right? Like, he wanted to get credit in the debate for having such a strong opinion, and that his opinion, he's so sure he's got to be right, he'll put money behind it, right? But he was too much of a coward to do the bet. Let's assume that's true. Let's say that's true, just for the sake of argument, that he didn't bet the money. That at the last second, when I actually offered the money to go for a bet, he was too much of a coward to actually take the money, right? He wanted to present himself as a politics knower who is all confident. And then guess what happened? He was dead fucking wrong. He was dead fucking wrong. I was dead right. I predicted everything correctly. By the way, if you had accepted my bets, you would have had to pay, because I phrased them in a way so there wouldn't be any pushes, because I don't like bets that have a push. I want them to have option A or option B. I don't like push. I don't like any room for interpretation. I like them to either resolve or not resolve. And I wrote them in a way so that they would have a definitive resolution date, right? Because if we didn't put a resolution date for the prison argument, well, then Hutch will never pay me, because he'll be like, well, Donald Trump is going to have to go to prison. Well, he might be going to prison. He might be going to prison. I heard they were investigating him. He might be going to prison. I don't want to pay. He might be going to prison. And he would do that until Trump dies, right? He would never pay. So I wanted to set a date years in advance, January 21st, 2025. Either he's in prison or he's not by this date. So there would be an answer. There would be a yes or a no.
Chad with $5. Lawyer here. Respectfully, wagers aren't enforceable contracts. Nevertheless, he should pay and not be a bitch.
Pay for what? Did Joe Biden win the re-election? Did Donald Trump go to prison? He owes me, dumb fuck.
So I laid down my own terms and said, if you can't produce, Mike, if you can't produce evidence of me accepting your terms, then you have to pay me $1,500. And since
that's not how anything works, dumbass. He's legitimately subnormal intelligence. He is legitimately subnormal intelligence. I have the evidence. My testimony, he accepted the bet. These screenshots as evidence of what the terms of the bets were, which is what I saved. Why would I save a whole bunch of other conversation? I have the terms of the bet. In my testimony, he made the bet. Those are the terms of the bet. I have my testimony, he made the bet. He's the loser of the bets. He agrees. By the way, he just agreed that all those screenshots were true and accurate representations of the conversation we had. He just asserts there's additional information magically out there, which he doesn't have, that prove that, oh, actually, well, I didn't accept the bet. You know, there was some other arrow, and, you know, it's, guys, I promise, guys, I promise, guys, I promise. It's somewhere saying that. I just saved the terms of the bet. Why the fuck would I save 8 other conversation lines? You are and again, what's more important to me is not even the money. Again, $1,500. I could wipe my ass with $1,500 and I wouldn't even notice, okay? The point of it is you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You act confident about shit you're wrong about, dumb fuck. That's the point of the bet. The point of the bet is for you to have to focus on the fact you're stupid and Donald Trump didn't go to prison and Joe Biden didn't get reelected. He was very profoundly unpopular and ineffective, and I was able to see that years in advance, and you couldn't. Your judgment is inferior to mine. That's the whole point of the bet. The point of the bet is that you have to acknowledge that. You have to pay me. It's a symbolic defeat. You had to pay me because you were so fucking wrong. It's not about the money. It's about the symbolism of accepting you were wrong, which you can't do, which is why no one should watch your dumb fucking ball ass, because you're stupid.
The standard here is one party can just unilaterally impose terms and just like establish a bet.
You're mud wrestling a pig right now. You will never gain for this I mean, I'm gaining sadistic pleasure from dominating a dumb fuck who's inferior. And you know what? Maybe that's not a good look. I don't know, but it is funny to me. It's like giving your little brother a noogie. Is it nice? Not really, but it is fun. I mean, it was when you were a kid, right? Then you grew up and you realize that's kind of fucked up. This is an intellectual noogie. You know, you grow up. Like, I remember I had a sister who was 18 months younger than me. I remember the last time we ever had like a little bit of a, you know, when you have siblings and you kind of like wrestle with them. I remember I was 12. That was the last time I ever wrestled with my sister, because I realized, oh, like, I can't do this anymore. From then on, she only ever hit me. You know, because little sisters, they hit you. Who gives a shit? Like, you say, ow, don't do that. But it's a little sister, right? So it is what it is. Oh, we physically fought? As a brother, you get to an age and then you never, ever, ever lay your hands on your sisters again. Usually like 11, 12, because that would be psychotic. I hit back when it hurts. That's... No.
His standard. Mike owes me $1,500.
My Mike standard. Okay. That's it?
He still hasn't paid up. Very dishonorable, if you ask me.
It's like, it is kind of schizo. It is a schizo thing where they just make shit up and they just start posting, which is exactly what he just did, by the way. What's so funny is he's getting called out by a recording of me. He's losing a debate to a recording again.
Who does that, right, Mike? Just makes things up. George with $2. Mike is the worst member of a 70s progressive rock band.
That's true.
I'm up there.
I'm and like no one actually believes it. They're just lying to each other and they're doing this posturing and it's fucking weird. I don't know how else to put it. Like, they are just making...
Guys, I need you to help me find a video. It's really hyper niche, but I need you to help me find a video. I have a memory of someone on Twitter making a video with the Joker soundtrack, the soundtrack to the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix, the first one, that like haunting score in the background. And it's a compilation of Mike's most pathetic moments. And it's really funny.
I mean, this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the level of engagement we have. This is formally it. This is it. He's so small and so pathetic and such a worm. But I'm different than most lefties. I don't have that twinge of empathy that kicks in, or sympathy for these fucking worms. I'm sorry, I just don't. Give me the magnifying glass for this fucking worm. Burn his bald head, metaphorically.
I've asked AI.
Anything to avoid confronting my arguments. Jesus Christ.
It's too deep.
They just want to, by the way, they just want to be like, Mike is a cringe lord. Mike is a cringe lord, guys. Don't listen to his points. He's such a cringe lord. Everybody thinks he's a cringe lord. Right, guys? He's such a cringe. That's literally all they've got. If you go back and look at my debates with Destiny, it's so funny how dumb he is. Which is why you've never seen, I mean, like, have you ever seen a Destiny simp link a debate between me and Destiny? In 7 fucking years, have you ever seen them link a debate of me and Destiny talking? Have I debated Hutch? Yes. I debated Hutch about Biden's immigration policy was identical to Trump's, and that it was boding poorly, and that it indicated that Biden was eventually going to adopt more of Trump's immigration policies, and that was really bad. And then it turned out that I was completely right, so much so that they tried to get a Republican senator from Oklahoma to write an immigration law bill that Donald Trump ended up blocking because he didn't want Biden to have a, quote, win. So everything I said in the debate ended up coming true. I'm sure it's on Hutch's channel somewhere. I was also completely factually right. Let me see if I can find that. Hutch, YouTube. God, he has so many followers and no motion. 800,000 subscribers. Destiny Dance Ultimate bully Starkers for 3 hours. He doxed my son. Deeply unserious. Okay, he talked about politics. Assad purity test LA mayoral candidate into oblivion. Purity testing is when you ask people about their policies. If I could find it. Hassan's orbit defends my docs being spread. What happened? The best Mike from PA critique on YouTube. Guys, he's calling me a Republican op. Did he take it down? Did he take it down? We used to have a debate. Maybe it's on my channel. I don't think it is. I don't think anybody cared enough to put it on my channel. I have a Mike and Hutch. Mike from PA touches on his conversation with Hutch on immigration. Damn it. Did I ever do it? I don't know. I tried to be nice to Hutch at some point, but he just became a kind of Destiny orbiter. It's too buried. Somebody would have to find it.
In the like ocean of social media posts. It might have been a post that only got like 50 likes on Twitter, but I distinctly remember this video. It might have even been Dev. Is Dev in here? It's like a compilation of him laughing at, it's like one of the things was him laughing at Destiny for predicting that Biden would become the nominee in 2020, and there's like him punching the couch and him like owning himself, like it's like 4 or 5 or 6 different clips with the Joker music, and it's so one of you guys has to remember this video, please. It's so fucking, let's have it's heavily irrelevant, because they gave it Destiny fucking fleshlight, so nobody cares about it anymore. It used to be a fun place, but then the bald guy ruined it. Dale 2000, who, by the way, chat, hair transplant. Oh no, yes, it's I got like most of it, so there. Is that a hair transplant, or is that, what am I even looking at?
There's a slight bald spot still in the back here, but.
Slight! Oh, brother.
Why? Do you still have a bald spot? I guess they didn't have enough hair follicles on his body that they could transplant.
Hassan is like very open about using treatment for his male pattern baldness. Whatever.
That's all guys do.
Crazy.
That's all they do. That's all they.
Honestly, man, good for you. Good for you. I saw a video of this one guy confidently, kind of went viral a little bit last week. Somebody help me find that video too. It's like a video of a guy doing his routine for, is it a toupee? It's like, I guess you call it a toupee. Or like he goes in the shower and he like shaves his like bald spot on the top, like totally shaven.
Jesus Christ. Does he talk about being bald every fucking stream?
Washes his toupee with like shampoo and stuff and removes the kind of gunk from the underside. Is this the one, Mercury?
Do somebody audience. Mike!
Oh, this is a, you know, did we ever watch this?
Destiny fans. I'm laughing. You can also see it because I went over to VO's stream. If somebody wants to line these things up, I was screaming laughing and I went over to VO's stream and interrupted her stream to show her the dicks. This is all could be lined up. We were laughing at Zoran. That's what we were laughing at. There was ASCII or however you pronounce that stupid shit. But there was the text art of dicks and it was being spammed all over the place. Screenshot of the mod response to the Destiny clip. They are fucking insane. While this post does,
I do not think you could inject more Botox into Mike's forehead. You think he's doing Botox for his forehead?
Guys, so funny. I just don't lift my eyebrows a lot. That's it. You know, different people have different facial gestures.
You know what? Honestly, like, where are the creases on his forehead? Doesn't everyone have creases on their forehead? I guess we would have to wait until his eyes get big.
Allowed to speculate. They should be resourced. You just have Hassan texting on his stream. There's no evidence.
His eyebrows are like, either he has access to the fountain of youth, but well, maybe.
It's here. There's absolutely. God damn, they say I look all young. That's so nice of you, Hutch. It's nice to say that I look young. Thanks, guys. I have access to the fountain. I mean, I think I'm gray as hell. But maybe you can't see on the camera. I don't know. No evidence here. What the fuck are you saying? Before he took over the subreddit, posts about Hassan were all Hassan W clips and clips of beautiful women. After he took it over, there hasn't been a single positive Hassan posted clips. Here are all boosted Destiny clips. These are all false. These are made up. Allegations may carry the burden of proof and making a claim required to back it up with evidence. There's no evidence. Hassan smiling after texting someone Hassan Destiny being banned.
It was a little sussy sus. Let's be honest. That was a little sussy sus. And that smirk to me implied more than just like a private conversation with Mike about Mamdani. Like he was.
That smirky smirk implied more to me more that that's not evidence, you dumb fuck. You're allowing baseless speculation to be put on the subreddit. You are such a dumb fuck. Guys, like, you know, anytime Hutch looks down, it means that he's messaging his stalker Discord. Like, do you see how that would be completely insane and made up? God, he's so dumb.
He was telegraphing with that. There's a difference between like an organic smile that just occurs and then a smile that you're telegraphing to your chat, not so subtly. Like right at the moment that Destiny gets rebanned. And that whole thing was just kind of wild. That was quite a roller coaster.
Again, this has no evidence.
People use Botox to help with migraines too. Interesting. They do? Wait, what?
On the Destiny thing. A human made an error in terms of the unbanning. It was quickly detected and corrected. To highlight that many people don't realize they're humans doing things. Humans sometimes make mistakes. Luckily, we were able to quickly detect this. So this was not something that was intentional.
Yeah, see, Dan wants you to know it was a mistake to unban Destiny.
And fixed it. Very sorry about any of that.
Yeah, okay, so someone new got hired at Twitch, unbanned Destiny, or a timer ran out.
Guys, I might be getting my white hairs on my facial hair. They might finally be coming in. What does that look like to you? Like
one of the things I always find weird about other streamers is that they talk about themselves so fucking much and their looks, and like I can't tell you the last time I was doing this kind of shit. Maybe I do it more often than I think you do. But it's so off-putting to me. Like nobody cares, man.
It's like one.
By the way, just interrupting me talking. No point. We've been watching this for like 30 minutes and he hasn't made a fucking point. Does this guy ever make a fucking point?
Oh, I want them so bad. I want my salt and pepper beard. I've earned it. I've lived a lot of life in these 43 years, okay? They make men more attractive. They just do. Gassy Mexican has the most incredible beard.
Now, who gives a fuck? He was rebanned. He's never going to be unbanned. If you're Destiny, I want you to listen to me. You're never getting unbanned, man.
You're never getting unbanned. Like, if you had just kept your harassment to other streamers, you would have been fine. Because obviously,
Dude, this guy constantly harasses people, man. I don't understand. Where is the fucking semblance of self-awareness?
doesn't give a shit about streamer safety, right? But when you started harassing the actual staff,
This fucking guy told his audience that they have an obligation, according to international law, to execute a citizen's arrest on me if they see me in public for being an Israeli propagandist. No disciplinary action there. That's a really unhinged thing to tell your pretty decently large audience.
if you started going after Twitch's bag, you pissed them off.
I think if you defend genocide, it is definitely justified to be arrested. Now, I don't personally think that you rise to the level of notability to ever be indicted by the International Criminal Court, but you are a felon. You are violating American law in support of genocide. So if there was justice, then all genocide supporters would be indicted, especially those that have platforms. You know, under my ideal legal system, you would be indicted for supporting genocide.
And this, like, duh. You hate Hassan and me for made up shit in your own head, dumb fuck. You think these people are gonna like you? You're done. You're never getting unbanned. You can't even collect revenue from YouTube anymore. And the thing is, like, if Destiny was like 5% more social, he would have had a great life. Because politics lets you be extremely antisocial. You could be an extreme freak in politics. Why do you think I'm in it?
That's an incredible admission. You don't have to be antisocial if you cover politics. You don't have to do that. It's not required. You can just be normal. You can be a normal person.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. You did the wrong thing. You went after the neutral capitalists and you went after their bag.
The thing about somebody like Hutch is they can't understand why anybody would be self-deprecating or self-aware because they're narcissists. And narcissists are addicted to maintaining their public persona, right? And so they can't engage in self-criticism publicly because to them it's uniquely and intensely humiliating because they have a personality disorder. And it's funny to see. Like, I can say to myself, self-aware, I talk and think about politics every day. That's weird. That's unusual.
You're fucked. And I made fun of him years ago for this because it was obvious. I made fun of him for years ago. And by the way, like, Hassan on his phone, most likely messaging Zorod's team in regards to their Twitch moderation as the chat was being spammed with porn. I went to confirm this. That's what it's about. He was literally texting me in Discord DMs. And I was going, oh my God, have you seen Zorod's chat? Holy shit, I was dying laughing from the dicks. Or whatever I said. It's something similar to that. That's all it is. And this right here is a delusion. I want you guys to understand. Destiny posted, LOL, he was buried in his phone for 15 minutes, probably crying to his...
There's a lot of normal streamers. I mean, I think Josiah's pretty normal. Josiah's definitely pretty normal. He has a life. He's got a whole life, you know.
That I was on.
Brian Tyler Cohen seems pretty normal. You know, Tim Miller seems pretty normal.
And remember, most of the toxic ideologies online today, blah, 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 bullshit. No one cares, man. No one cares, little bro. No one cares, little bro. No one cares. Like, this is just made up.
I don't mind the time out, Hutch. I understand not wanting to get sidelined by something you disagree with, but you clearly have a bias toward assuming the worst of Hassan, and it's frustrating. In fact, Kayagate was recently proven false by Fox. Okay, all right, listen, I'm doing it again. I'm just gonna keep doing it. Proven false. I don't even know what that means.
I don't want to leak, you know, there's too much in the chat that's private, so I don't want to, otherwise I would like leak a little of it just to like confirm what I'm saying, but there's too much stuff in there that's private. So it's none of your business, but I will say that that's exactly what we were talking about.
Only survive when they're allowed to exist without contact with any other challenger. Bro, I debated you 7 times and then you threw in the towel and said, I'm not debating Mike anymore.
There's no way. Hang on. What was the last debate that Destiny and Mike from PA had?
It was on Medicare for All. He ended his, he was in the middle of a vacation, aka he was visiting some teenage fan to have sex with. And I was in my Discord. It was 2 a.m. And I was just chatting with a couple of my Discorders in the public Discord chat. And he joined my Discord to try to like debate. And we debated on Medicare for All. And if you go back and listen to it, they like, and I had like a really shitty mic that they made worse. They like boosted Destiny's volume in the video and like made mine quieter and more crunchy. He is such a fucking, like, that's the last debate. And then he had to crash out after it because he looked stupid.
You have to find this.
Oh, I want to see what they find.
Really good at these kinds of things. Stealthy with 108 months. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to see this.
Just uses my channel to grow. After you.
Did Mike just discover Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, and 90s grunge? Clearly, I remember picking on the boy.
I love Pearl Jam growing up.
Ended a vacation.
Oh, my unleashed a lion.
This is literally true. If you want to know some more Destiny Mike lore, I was on my Discord. It was like 2 a.m. I was like,
based on what I can find, their notable head-to-head debates cluster in 2019 to 2020. And the most recent clearly dated one is Destiny stream titled Confronting Mike from PA. Claude did that shit. It found that shit in like 2 seconds.
And why wouldn't you just keep your bet?
Let's skip to the most replayed section.
Certainty about the outcome. They fucked it up so much.
So if they change the outcome of the election, you don't consider that rigging?
I never said it was rigging. Are you having trouble following me? I said once they said they weren't going to release the result for days, I said fuck this election.
Yeah, but when I keep the money in, it's free money, no?
Wait, did Mike not pay a bet?
No, I bought a predicted contract, which was an old prediction website for Bernie Sanders to win Iowa. And when they were doing the like state delegate equivalent, I don't know if you guys know this, but Bernie Sanders got the most votes. But because the Democratic Party wanted to try to like rig the election in Iowa, they set up Iowa had its own electoral college where they would make the votes of people in rural areas worth more. And like it ended up being that Pete Buttigieg got one more state delegate equivalent than Bernie did. But Bernie won the number of votes significantly. So people will say, like, and then he rushed to claim that he won the Iowa caucus. It ended up being he got one, you know, more state delegate equivalent. But Bernie got significantly more votes than he did. So when that all shit was happening, I was like, that's not even our last debate, I don't think. Again, that's not our last debate. I'll find it.
Okay, so Americans.
Oh my God. Why is it recorded like this? Because he was on vacation. That's why there's no video. He just like started his stream, I guess. Do you see why there's no video? It's just him like on my Discord while he was on a vacation. We did a Medicare for all. Is the single payer system in
Canada unpopular?
Okay. Hutch is jealous that you look young, dude. He said at the beginning that he thinks you're younger than him. Now he's saying you use Botox and that you have salt and pepper hair and a beard, and he does it, but then make men look hotter. Stupid, sexy Mike. I mean, I guess.
We're not Canadian. Why do you think that?
Wait, so Americans are exceptional, you could say, and that every other polity in the entire developed world has some sort of universal healthcare system, and we're going to be the one that finally rejects it. We want our insurance premiums back. We want our deductibles back. Please vote them all out.
Firstly, most Americans are actually happy with their insurance, believe it or not. Secondly, yeah, we are kind of exceptional in that we're the only country that doesn't have a socialized healthcare system. So by definition, yeah, we are exceptional. Yeah.
Okay, so we've failed, but what you've made a leap of logic where you go from we don't have it now, therefore if we got it, it would be unpopular.
I never said that. I said that it's unpopular.
You just said that if they voted for it, they would lose their seats.
I said that right now it seems to be unpopular with the broader American people.
Okay, so if it...
So notice how dumb Destiny is. Listen how dumb this guy is. By the way, at the time, Medicare for all polling 2020, 56% support Medicare for all, 41% disapprove. Now, oh, I guess it's not 2/3 of the public favor a public option. So more people were in favor of the public option than Medicare for all during the primary, right? There we are in January of 2020. That's 56% approve. So Mr. Bonelli was stupid. He was making shit up. Now, I think that a policy that has 56% support and is also good should be enacted. All right, guys, I'm bored. Like, if you want to go back and listen to this old shit, Hutch is dumb. I was hoping there would be some argument in like an hour. I'm so sorry that we did that. I'm so sorry that we did that. But they're too stupid. They're too fucking stupid. There's not even a video to make. I'm so sorry. Hutch is like subnormal intelligence, you know? With enemies like this, what can you even say?
It would be so funny. Like, what do you think is the maximum percentage of Chinese that I could be? I don't think I am, but I think I could be 15% Chinese. Genetics is a scam. Your food preference says it all. I don't know. If food preference says it all, I think I might be Scandinavian Chinese, man. I might be Scandinavian Chinese.
Guys, he must be getting Botox like me.
Then.
By the way, I don't get Botox.
I don't speak for the earth, man. If I did, I'd probably...
Hey, Vio, what do you think about the idea that I need to have cosmetic treatments to look this young? Vio, what do you think about that? Vio, what do you think about Hutch saying I need cosmetic treatments to look this young because my forehead isn't wrinkled enough?
Be talking Chinese right now. I would say on average, I'm 10% gay and 10% Chinese. I should learn French, man. No, I should learn Cantonese. Oh, God, it would go so fucking crazy to get mad on stream and then just start speaking Cantonese and fucking go off. God, the aura would be so fucking good if you learned.
We're winning so much that Northern Lion wants to learn a Chinese dialect. Like, how are we even surviving? Anyway, chat, I'm gonna call it there. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Sorry for the Hutch. I was really excited. I thought Hutch would make a point. I wanted any kind of, like, I'm so desperate for a liberal to make a fucking point, and they never do. Isn't it crazy how all these liberals hate us and they never make a fucking point? I'm desperate to have a fucking argument that has like some thought to it, and it's all like Mike is cringe, Hassan is terrorist supporter, and he's a Muslim, and it's like, can you make a point, like one point that isn't your interpersonal fucking like feeling of inferiority? Like, Jesus. All right, who's live right now? Who's cool and live? Well, it looks like we're heading to Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it looks like we're going to Hasanabi. Thanks so much for hanging out. Is Casey live? Oh, she is. Okay, we'll do a Casey. We'll do a Casey raid. Let's do a Casey raid. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. Socialism will win. Our enemies are inferior. Like, what else do we need to say? I live in South America. Pulled up an NL VOD, and it was an AI Spanish, and his voice very funny and off-putting. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, God. Oh, fuck. I didn't chill enough. God damn it. New reaction podcast with Matt Lieb. Go check it out. All right, everybody. Peace out. We'll chill tomorrow more.